Let not that which in another is contrary to nature be an evil to you, for you are not formed by nature to be depressed with others nor to be unhappy with others, but to be happy with them. If a man is unhappy, remember that his unhappiness is his own fault, for God has made all men to be happy, to be free from perturbations. For this purpose he has given means to them, some things to each person as his own, and other things not as his own. Some things subject to hindrance and compulsion and deprivation, and these things are not a man's own, but the things which are not subject to hindrances are his own. And the nature of good and evil, as it was fit to be done by him who takes care of us and protects us like a father, he has made our own. But you say, I have parted from a certain person, and he is grieved. Why did he consider as his own that which belongs to another? Why, when he looked on you and was rejoiced, did he not also reckon that you are mortal, that it is natural for you to part from him for a foreign country? Therefore he suffers the consequences of his own folly. But why do you, or for what purpose, bewail yourself? Is it that you also have not thought of these things? But like poor women who are good for nothing, you have enjoyed all things in which you took pleasure, as if you would always enjoy them, both places and men and conversation. And now you sit and weep because you do not see the same persons and do not live in the same places. Indeed, you deserve this, to be more wretched than crows and ravens who have the power of flying where they please and changing their nests for others, and crossing the seas without lamenting or regretting their former condition. Yes, but this happens to them because they are irrational creatures. Was reason then given to us by the gods for the purpose of unhappiness and misery, that we may pass our lives in wretchedness and lamentation? Must all persons be immortal, and must no man go abroad, and must we ourselves not go abroad, but remain rooted like plants? And if any of our familiar friends goes abroad, must we sit and weep? And on the contrary, when he returns, must we dance and clap our hands like children? Shall we not now wean ourselves, and remember what we have heard from the philosophers? If we did not listen to them as if they were jugglers, they tell us that this world is one city, and the substance out of which it has been formed is one, and that there must be a certain period, and that some things must give way to others, that some must be dissolved and others come in their place, some to remain in the same place and others to be moved, and that all things are full of friendship, first of the gods, and then of men who by nature are made to be of one family. And some must be with one another, and others must be separated, rejoicing in those who are with them, and not grieving for those who are removed from them. And man, in addition to being by nature of a noble temper, and having a contempt of all things which are not in the power of his will, also possesses this property, not to be rooted nor to be naturally fixed to the earth, but to go at different times to different places, sometimes from the urgency of certain occasions, and at others merely for the sake of seeing. So it was with Ulysses, who saw of many men the states and learned their ways. And still earlier it was the fortune of Hercules to visit all the inhabited world, seeing men's lawless deeds and their good rules of law, casting out and clearing away their lawlessness and introducing in their place good rules of law. And yet how many friends do you think that he had in Thebes, how many in Argos, how many in Athens, and how many do you think that he gained by going about? And he married also when it seemed to him a proper occasion, and begot children, and left them without lamenting or regretting or leaving them as orphans, for he knew that no man is an orphan. But it is the Father who takes care of all men always and continuously. For it was not as mere report that he had heard that Zeus is the father of men, for he thought that Zeus was his own father, and he called him so, and to him he looked when he was doing what he did. Therefore he was enabled to live happily in all places. And it is never possible for happiness and desire of what is not present to come together. For that which is happy must of all that it desires, must resemble a person who is filled with food, and must have neither thirst nor hunger. But Ulysses felt a desire for his wife and wept as he sat on a rock. If you attend to Homer and his stories and everything, or if Ulysses really wept, what was he else than an unhappy man, and what good man is unhappy? In truth, the whole is badly administered, if Zeus does not take care of his own citizens that they may be happy like himself. But these things are not lawful nor right to think of, and if Ulysses did weep and lament, he was not a good man, for who is good if he knows not who he is? And who knows what he is if he forgets that things which have been made are perishable, and that it is not possible for one human being to be with another always? To desire then things which are impossible is to have a slavish character, and is foolish. It is the part of a stranger, of a man who fights against God in the only way that he can, by his opinions. But my mother laments when she does not see me. Why has she not learned these principles? And I do not say this, that we should not take care that she may not lament, but I say that we ought not to desire in every way what is not our own. And the sorrow of another is another's sorrow, but my sorrow is my own. I then will stop my own sorrow by every means, for it is in my power, and the sorrow of another I will endeavor to stop as far as I can. But I will not attempt to do it by every means, for if I do, I shall be fighting against God, I shall be opposing Zeus, and shall be placing myself against him in the administration of the universe. And the reward, the punishment of this fighting against God and of this disobedience, not only will the children of my children pay, but I also shall myself, both by day and by night, startled by dreams, perturbed, trembling at every piece of news, and having my tranquility depending on the letters of others. Some person has arrived from Rome. I only hope that there is no harm. But what harm can happen to you where you are not? From Hellas, Greece, someone has come. I hope that there is no harm. In this way, every place may be the cause of misfortune to you. Is it not enough for you to be unfortunate there where you are, and must you be so even beyond sea and by the report of letters? Is this the way in which your affairs are in a state of security? Well then, suppose that my friends have died in the places which are far from me. What else have they suffered than that which is the condition of mortals? Or how are you desirous at the same time to live to old age, and at the same time not to see the death of any person whom you love? Know you not that in the course of a long time many and various kinds of things must happen, that a fever shall overpower one, a robber another, and a third a tyrant? Such is the condition of things around us, such are those who live with us in the world. Cold and heat and unsuitable ways of living, and journeys by land and voyages by sea and winds, and various circumstances which surround us, destroy one man and banish another, and throw one upon an embassy and another into an army. Sit down then in a flutter at all these things, lamenting, unhappy, unfortunate, dependent on another, and dependent not on one or two, but on 10,000s upon 10,000s. Did you hear this when you were with the philosophers? Did you learn this? Do you not know that human life is a warfare? That one man must keep watch, another must go out as a spy, and a third must fight. And it is not possible that all should be in one place, nor is it better that it should be so. But you, neglecting to do the commands of the general, complain when anything more hard than usual is imposed on you. And you do not observe what you make the army become as far as it is in your power, that if all imitate you, no man will dig a trench, no man will put a rampart round, nor keep watch, nor expose himself to danger, but will appear to be useless for the purposes of an army. Again, in a vessel, if you go as a sailor, keep to one place and stick to it. And if you are ordered to climb the mast, refuse. If to run to the head of the ship, refuse. And what master of a ship will endure you? And will he not pitch you overboard as a useless thing, an impediment only and bad example to the other sailors? And so it is here also. Every man's life is a kind of warfare, and it is long and diversified. You must observe the duty of a soldier and do everything at the nod of the general, if it is possible, divining what his wishes are, for there is no resemblance between that general and this, neither in strength nor in superiority of character. You are placed in a great office of command, and not in any mean place, but you are always a senator. Do you not know that such a man must give little time to the affairs of his household, but be often away from home, either as a governor or one who is governed, or discharging some office, or serving in war, or acting as a judge? Then do you tell me that you wish, as a plant, to be fixed to the same places and to be rooted? Yes, for it is pleasant. Who says that it is not? But a soup is pleasant, and a handsome woman is pleasant. What else do those say who make pleasure their end? Do you not see of what men you have uttered the language, that it is the language of Epicureans and Catamites? Next, while you are doing what they do and holding their opinions, you speak to us the words of Zeno and of Socrates. Will you not throw away as far as you can the things belonging to others with which you decorate yourself, though they do not fit you at all? For what else do they desire than to sleep without hindrance and free from compulsion, and when they have risen to yawn at their leisure, and to wash the face, then write and read what they choose, and then talk about some trifling matter, being praised by their friends whatever they may say, then to go forth for a walk? And having walked about a little, to bathe, and then eat and sleep, such sleep as is the fashion of such men. Why need we say how, for one can easily conjecture. Come, do you also tell your own way of passing the time which you desire, you who are an admirer of truth and of Socrates and Diogenes? What do you wish to do in Athens, the same that others do, or something else? Why then do you call yourself a Stoic? Well, but they who falsely call themselves Roman citizens are severely punished. And should those who falsely claim so great and reverend a thing in name get off unpunished? Or is this not possible? But the law divine and strong and inevitable is this, which exacts the severest punishments from those who commit the greatest crime. For what does this law say? Let him who pretends to things which do not belong to him be a boaster, a vainglorious man. Let him who disobeys the divine administration be base and a slave. Let him suffer grief, let him be envious, let him pity, and in a word, let him be unhappy and lament. Well then, do you wish me to pay court to a certain person, to go to his doors? If reason requires this to be done for the sake of country, for the sake of kinsmen, for the sake of mankind, why should you not go? You are not ashamed to go to the doors of a shoemaker when you are in want of shoes, nor to the door of a gardener when you want lettuces. And are you ashamed to go to the doors of the rich when you want anything? Yes, for I have no awe of a shoemaker. Don't feel any awe of the rich, nor will I flatter the gardener, and do not flatter the rich. How then shall I get what I want? Do I say to you, go as if you were certain to get what you want, and do not I only tell you that you may do what is becoming to yourself? Why then should I still go? That you may have gone, that you may have discharged the duty of a citizen, of a brother, of a friend. And further remember that you have gone to the shoemaker, to the seller of vegetables, who have no power in anything great or noble, though he may sell dear. You go to buy lettuces, they cost an obolisk penny, but not a talent, so it is here also. The matter is worth going for to the rich man's door. Well, I will go, it is worth talking about, let it be so. I will talk with him, but you must also kiss his hand and flatter him with praise. Away with that, it is a talent's worth. It is not profitable to me, nor to the state, nor to my friends, to have done that which spoils a good citizen and a friend. But you will seem not to have been eager about the matter, if you do not succeed. Have you again forgotten why you went? Know you not that a good man does nothing for the sake of appearance, but for the sake of doing right? What advantage is it then to him to have done right? And what advantage is it to a man who writes the name of Dion to write it as he ought? The advantage is to have written it. Is there no reward then? Do you seek a reward for a good man greater than doing what is good and just? At Olympia you wish for nothing more, but it seems to you enough to be crowned at the games. Does it seem to you so small and worthless a thing to be good and happy? For these purposes being introduced by the gods into this city, the world, and it being now your duty to undertake the work of a man, do you still want nurses also and a mamma, and do foolish women by their weeping move you and make you effeminate? Will you thus never cease to be a foolish child? Know you not that he who does the acts of a child, the older he is, the more ridiculous he is? Athens, did you see no one by going to his house? I visited any man that I pleased. Here also be ready to see, and you will see whom you please. Only let it be without meanness, neither with desire nor with aversion, and your affairs will be well managed. But this result does not depend on going nor on standing at the doors, but it depends on what is within, on your opinions. When you have learned not to value things which are external and not dependent on the will, and to consider that not one of them is your own, but that these things only are your own, to exercise the judgment well, to form opinions, to move towards an object, to desire, to turn from a thing, where is there any longer room for flattery, where for meanness? Why do you still long for the quiet there at Athens, and for the places to which you are accustomed? Wait a little, and you will again find these places familiar. Then, if you are of so ignoble a nature, again, if you leave these also, weep and lament. How then shall I become of an affectionate temper? By being of a noble disposition and happy. For it is not reasonable to be mean-spirited, nor to lament yourself, nor to depend on another, nor ever to blame God or man. I entreat you, become an affectionate person in this way by observing these rules. But if through this affection, as you name it, you are going to be a slave and wretched, there is no profit in being affectionate. And what prevents you from loving another as a person subject to mortality, as one who may go away from you? Did not Socrates love his own children? He did. But it was as a free man, as one who remembered that he must first be a friend to the gods. For this reason he violated nothing which was becoming to a good man, neither in making his defense nor by fixing a penalty on himself, nor even in the former part of his life when he was a senator or when he was a soldier. But we are fully supplied with every pretext for being of ignoble temper, some for the sake of a child, some for mother, and others for brethren's sake. But it is not fit for us to be unhappy on account of any person, but to be happy on account of all, but chiefly on account of God who has made us for this end. Well, did Diogenes love nobody, who was so kind and so much a lover of all that for mankind in general he willingly undertook so much labor and bodily sufferings? He did love mankind, but how? As became a minister of God, at the same time caring for men, and being also subject to God. For this reason all the earth was his country, and no particular place. And when he was taken prisoner he did not regret Athens nor his associates and friends there, but even he became familiar with the pirates and tried to improve them. And being sold afterwards he lived in Corinth as before at Athens, and he would have behaved the same if he had gone to the country of the Perrhaebi. Thus is freedom acquired. For this reason he used to say, ever since Antisthenes made me free I have not been a slave. How did Antisthenes make him free? Hear what he says. Antisthenes taught me what is my own and what is not my own. Possessions are not my own, nor kinsmen, domestics, friends, nor reputation, nor places familiar, nor mode of life. All these belong to other. What then is your own? The use of appearances. This he showed to me that I possess it free from hindrance, and from compulsion. No person can put an obstacle in my way. No person can force me to use appearances otherwise than I wish. Who then has any power over me? Philip or Alexander or Perdiccas or the great king? How have they this power? For if a man is going to be overpowered by a man, he must long before be overpowered by things. If then pleasure is not able to subdue a man, nor pain, nor fame, nor wealth, but he is able, when he chooses, to spit out all his poor body in a man's face and depart from life, whose slave can he still be? But if he dwelt with pleasure in Athens, and was overpowered by this manner of life, his affairs would have been at every man's command. The stronger would have had the power of grieving him. How do you think that Diogenes would have flattered the pirates that they might sell him to some Athenian? that some time he might see that beautiful Piraeus and the long walls in the Acropolis. In what condition would you see them? As a captive, a slave, and mean, and what would be the use of it for you? Not so, but I should see them as a free man. Show me how you would be free. Observe, some person has caught you, who leads you away from your accustomed place of abode, and says, "You are my slave, for it is in my power to hinder you from living as you please. It is in my power to treat you gently, and to humble you, when I choose. On the contrary, you are cheerful and go elated to Athens. What do you say to him who treats you as a slave? What means have you of finding one who will rescue you from slavery? Or cannot you even look him in the face, but without saying more do you entreat to be set free? Man, you ought to go gladly to prison, hastening, going before those who led you there. Then I ask you, are you unwilling to live in Rome and desire to live in Hellas, Greece? And when you must die, will you then also fill us with your lamentations, because you will not see Athens nor walk about in the Lycian? Have you gone abroad for this? Was it for this reason you have sought to find some person from whom you might receive benefit? What benefit? That you may solve syllogisms more readily, or handle hypothetical arguments. And for this reason did you leave brother, country, friends, your family, that you might return when you had learned these things. So you did not go abroad to obtain constancy of mind, nor freedom from perturbation, nor in order that being secure from harm you may never complain of any person, accuse no person, and no man may wrong you, and thus you may maintain your relative position without impediment. This is a fine traffic that you have gone abroad for in syllogisms and sophistical arguments and hypothetical, if you like. Take your place in the agora, market, or public place, and proclaim them for sale like dealers in physic. Will you not deny even all that you have learned, that you may not bring a bad name on your theorems as useless? What harm has philosophy done you? Wherein has Chrysippus injured you, that you should prove by your acts that his labors are useless? Were the evils that you had there at home not enough, those which were the cause of your pain and lamentation, even if you had not gone abroad? Have you added more to the list? And if you again have other acquaintances and friends, you will have more causes for lamentation, and the same also if you take an affection for another country. Why then do you live to surround yourself with other sorrows upon sorrows through which you are unhappy? Then, I ask you, do you call this affection? What affection, man? If it is a good thing, it is the cause of no evil. If it is bad, I have nothing to do with it. I am formed by nature for my own good. I am not formed for my own evil. What then is the discipline for this purpose? First of all, the highest and the principal, and that which stands as it were at the entrance, is this: when you are delighted with anything, be delighted as with a thing which is not one of those which cannot be taken away, but as with something of such a kind as an earthen pot is, or a glass cup, that when it has been broken you may remember what it was and may not be troubled. So in this matter also, if you kiss your own child, or your brother or friend, never give full license to the appearance, phi alpha nu tau alpha sigma iota alpha nu, and allow not your pleasure to go as far as it chooses, but check it and curb it as those who stand behind men in their triumphs, and remind them that they are mortal. You also remind yourself in like manner that he whom you love is mortal, and that what you love is nothing of your own. It has been given to you for the present, not that it should not be taken from you, nor has it been given to you for all time, but as a fig is given to you, or a bunch of grapes at the appointed season of the year. But if you wish for these things in winter, you are a fool. So if you wish for your son or friend when it is not allowed to you, you must know that you are wishing for a fig in winter. For such as winter is to a fig, such is every event which happens from the universe to the things which are taken away according to its nature. And further, at the times when you are delighted with a thing, place before yourself the contrary appearances. What harm is it while you are kissing your child to say with a lisping voice, "Tomorrow you will die," and to a friend also, "Tomorrow you will go away, or I shall, and never shall we see one another again"? But these are words of bad omen. And some incantations also are of bad omen, but because they are useful I don't care for this, only let them be useful. But do you call things to be of bad omen except those which are significant of some evil? Cowardice is a word of bad omen, and meanness of spirit, and sorrow, and grief, and shamelessness. These words are of bad omen, and yet we ought not to hesitate to utter them in order to protect ourselves against the things. Do you tell me their name which is significant of any natural thing is of evil omen? Say that even for the ears of corn to be reaped is of bad omen, for it signifies the destruction of the ears, but not of the world. Say that the falling of the leaves also is of bad omen, and for the dried fig to take the place of the green fig, and for raisins to be made from the grapes. For all these things are changes from a former state into other states, not a destruction, but a certain fixed economy and administration. Such is going away from home and a small change, such is death, a greater change, not from the state which now is to that which is not, but to that which is not now. Shall I then no longer exist? You will not exist, but you will be something else of which the world now has need. For you also came into existence not when you chose, but when the world had need of you. Wherefore the wise and good man, remembering who he is and whence he came and by whom he was produced, is attentive only to this, how he may fill his place with due regularity and obediently to God. Dost thou still wish me to exist alive? I will continue to exist as free, as noble in nature, as thou hast wished me to exist, for thou hast made me free from hindrance in that which is my own. But hast thou no further need of me, I thank thee. And so far I have remained for thy sake, and for the sake of no other person, and now in obedience to thee I depart. How dost thou depart? Again, I say, as thou hast pleased, as free as thy servant, as one who has known thy commands and thy prohibitions. And so long as I shall stay in thy service, whom dost thou will me to be? A prince or a private man, a senator or a common person, a soldier or a general, a teacher or a master of a family. Whatever place and position thou mayest assign to me, as Socrates says, I will die 10,000 times rather than desert them. And where dost thou will me to be? In Rome or Athens or Thebes or Gyara? Only remember me there where I am, if thou sendest me to a place where there are no means for men living according to nature. I shall not depart from life in disobedience to thee, but as if thou wast giving me the signal to retreat. I do not leave thee, let this be far from my intention, but I perceive that thou hast no need of me. If means of living according to nature be allowed to me, I will seek no other place than that in which I am, or other men than those among whom I am. Let these thoughts be ready to hand by night and by day. These you should write, these you should read, about these you should talk to yourself and to others. Ask a man, can you help me at all for this purpose? And further, go to another and to another. Then if anything that is said be contrary to your wish, this reflection first will immediately relieve you that it is not unexpected. For it is a great thing in all cases to say, I knew that I begot a son who is mortal. For so you also will say, I knew that I am mortal, I knew that I may leave my home, I knew that I may be ejected from it, I knew that I may be led to prison. Then if you turn round and look to yourself and seek the place from which comes that which has happened, you will forthwith recollect that it comes from the place of things which are out of the power of the will, and of things which are not my own. What then is it to me? Then you will ask, and this is the chief thing, and who is it that sent it? The leader or the general, the state, the law of the state? Give it me then, for I must always obey the law in everything. Then, when the appearance of things pains you, for it is not in your power to prevent this, contend against it by the aid of reason, conquer it. Do not allow it to gain strength, nor to lead you to the consequences by raising images such as it pleases and as it pleases. If you be in Gyara, do not imagine the mode of living at Rome, and how many pleasures there were for him who lived there, and how many there would be for him who returned to Rome. But fix your mind on this matter, how a man who lives in Gyara ought to live in Gyara like a man of courage. And if you be in Rome, do not imagine what the life in Athens is, but think only of the life in Rome. Then in the place of all other delights substitute this, that of being conscious that you are obeying God, that not in word, but in deed you are performing the acts of a wise and good man. For what a thing it is for a man to be able to say to himself, now whatever the rest may say in solemn manner in the schools, and may be judged to be saying in a way contrary to common opinion, or in a strange way, this I am doing, and they are sitting and are discoursing of my virtues, and inquiring about me and praising me. And of this Zeus has willed that I shall receive from myself a demonstration, and shall myself know if he has a soldier such as he ought to have, a citizen such as he ought to have, and if he has chosen to produce me to the rest of mankind as a witness of the things which are independent of the will. See that you fear without reason, that you foolishly desire what you do desire. Seek not the good in things external, seek it in yourselves. If you do not, you will not find it. For this purpose he leads me at one time hither, at another time sends me thither, shows me to men as poor, without authority and sick, sends me to Gyara, leads me into prison, not because he hates me, far from him be such a meaning, for who hates the best of his servants? Nor yet because he cares not for me, for he does not neglect any even of the smallest things. But he does this for the purpose of exercising me and making use of me as a witness to others. Being appointed to such a service, do I still care about the place in which I am, or with whom I am, or what men say about me? And do I not entirely direct my thoughts to God and to his instructions and commands? Having these things or thoughts always in hand, and exercising them by yourself, and keeping them in readiness, you will never be in want of one to comfort you and strengthen you. For it is not shameful to be without something to eat, but not to have reason sufficient for keeping away fear and sorrow. But if once you have gained exemption from sorrow and fear, will there any longer be a tyrant for you, or a tyrant's guard, or attendance on Caesar? Or shall any appointment to offices at court cause you pain, or shall those who sacrifice in the capital on the occasion of being named to certain functions cause pain to you who have received so great authority from Zeus? Only do not make a proud display of it, nor boast of it, but show it by your acts. And if no man perceives it, be satisfied that you are yourself in a healthy state and happy. Chapter Roman 25. To those who fall off, desist from their purpose. Consider as to the things which you proposed to yourself at first, which you have secured and which you have not, and how you are pleased when you recall to memory the one and are pained about the other, and if it is possible, recover the things wherein you failed. For we must not shrink when we are engaged in the greatest combat, but we must even take blows. For the combat before us is not in wrestling and the pancration, in which both the successful and the unsuccessful may have the greatest merit, or may have little, and in truth may be very fortunate or very unfortunate, but the combat is for good fortune and happiness themselves. Well then, even if we have renounced the contest in this matter for good fortune and happiness, no man hinders us from renewing the combat again, and we are not compelled to wait for another 4 years that the games at Olympia may come again. But as soon as you have recovered and restored yourself and employ the same zeal, you may renew the combat again, and if again you renounce it, you may again renew it, and if you once gain the victory, you are like him who has never renounced the combat. Only do not, through a habit of doing the same thing, renouncing the combat, begin to do it with pleasure, and then like a bad athlete go about after being conquered in all the circuit of the games like quails who have run away. The sight of a beautiful young girl overpowers me. Well, have I not been overpowered before? An inclination arises in me to find fault with a person, for have I not found fault with him before? You speak to us as if you had come off from these things free from harm, just as if a man should say to his physician who forbids him to bathe, have I not bathed before? If then the physician can say to him, well, and what then happened to you after the bath? Had you not a fever? Had you not a headache? And when you found fault with a person lately, did you not do the act of a malignant person, of a trifling babbler? Did you not cherish this habit in you by adding to it the corresponding acts? And when you were overpowered by the young girl, did you come off unharmed? Why then do you talk of what you did before? You ought, I think, remembering what you did, as slaves remember the blows which they have received, to abstain from the same faults. But the one case is not like the other, for in the case of slaves the pain causes the remembrance, but in the case of your faults, what is the pain, what is the punishment? For when have you been accustomed to fly from evil acts? Sufferings then of the trying character are useful to us, whether we choose or not. Chapter Romans 26, to those who fear want. Are you not ashamed at being more cowardly and more mean than fugitive slaves? How do they when they run away leave their masters? On what estates do they depend, and what domestics do they rely on? Do they not, after stealing a little which is enough for the first days, then afterwards move on through land or through sea, contriving one method after another for maintaining their lives? And what fugitive slave ever died of hunger? But you are afraid lest necessary things should fail you, and are sleepless by night. Wretch, are you so blind, and don't you see the road to which the want of necessaries leads? Well, where does it lead? To the same place to which a fever leads, or a stone that falls on you, to death. Have you not often said this yourself to your companions? Have you not read much of this kind and written much? And how often have you boasted that you were easy as to death? Yes, but my wife and children also suffer hunger. Well then, does their hunger lead to any other place? Is there not the same descent to some place for them also? Is not there the same state below for them? Do you not choose then to look to that place full of boldness against every want and deficiency, to that place to which both the richest and those who have held the highest offices and kings themselves and tyrants must descend, or to which you will descend hungry? If it should so happen but they burst by indigestion and drunkenness, what beggar did you hardly ever see who was not an old man, and even of extreme old age, but chilled with cold day and night, and lying on the ground, and eating only what is absolutely necessary, they approach near to the impossibility of dying? Cannot you write? Cannot you teach, take care of children? Cannot you be a watchman at another person's door? But it is shameful to come to such a necessity. Learn then first what are the things which are shameful, and then tell us that you are a philosopher, but at present do not, even if any other man call you so, allow it. Is that shameful to you which is not your own act, that of which you are not the cause, that which has come to you by accident, as a headache, as a fever? If your parents were poor and left their property to others, and if while they lived they do not help you at all, is this shameful to you? Is this what you learned with the philosophers? Did you never hear that the thing which is shameful ought to be blamed, and that which is blamable is worthy of blame? Whom do you blame for an act which is not his own, which he did not do himself? Did you then make your father such as he is, or is it in your power to improve him? Is this power given to you? Well then, ought you to wish the things which are not given to you, or to be ashamed if you do not obtain them? And have you also been accustomed while you were studying philosophy to look to others and to hope for nothing from yourself? Lament then and groan and eat with fear that you may not have food tomorrow. Tremble about your poor slaves lest they steal, lest they run away, lest they die. So live and continue to live, you who in name only have approached philosophy, and have disgraced its theorems as far as you can by showing them to be useless and unprofitable to those who take them up. You who have never sought constancy, freedom from perturbation and from passions. You who have not sought any person for the sake of this object, but many for the sake of syllogisms. You who have never thoroughly examined any of these appearances by yourself. Am I able to bear, or am I not able to bear? What remains for me to do? But as if all your affairs were well and secure, you have been resting on the third topic, that of things being unchanged, in order that you may possess unchanged. What? Cowardice, mean spirit, the admiration of the rich, desire without attaining any end, and avoidance, letter 1 F14 capilamdio sigma nu, which fails in the attempt. About security in these things you have been anxious. Ought you not to have gained something in addition from reason, and then to have protected this with security? And whom did you ever see building a battlement all round and not encircling it with a wall? And what doorkeeper is placed with no door to watch? But you practice in order to be able to prove. What? You practice that you may not be tossed as on the sea through sophisms, and tossed about from what? Show me first what you hold, what you measure, or what you weigh. And show me the scales, or the medimnus, the measure, or how long will you go on measuring the dust? Ought you not to demonstrate those things which make men happy, which make things go on for them in the way as they wish, and why we ought to blame no man, accuse no man, and acquiesce in the administration of the universe? Show me these. See, I show them, I will resolve syllogisms for you. This is the measure, slave, but it is not the thing measured. Therefore you are now paying the penalty for what you neglected, philosophy. You tremble, you lie awake, you advise with all persons, and if your deliberations are not likely to please all, you think that you have deliberated ill. Then you fear hunger, as you suppose. But it is not hunger that you fear, but you are afraid that you will not have a cook, that you will not have another to purchase provisions for the table, a third to take off your shoes, a fourth to dress you, others to rub you, and to follow you in order that in the bath, when you have taken off your clothes and stretched yourself out like those who are crucified, you may be rubbed on this side and on that, and then the allops, rubber, may say to the slave, change his position, present the side, take hold of his head, show the shoulder, and then when you have left the bath and gone home, you may call out, does no one bring something to eat? And then, take away the tables, sponge them. You are afraid of this, that you may not be able to lead the life of a sick man. But learn the life of those who are in health, how slaves live, how laborers, how those live who are genuine philosophers, how Socrates lived, who had a wife and children, how Diogenes lived, and how Cleanthes, who attended to the school and drew water. If you choose to have these things, you will have them everywhere, and you will live in full confidence. Confiding in what? In that alone in which a man can confide, in that which is secure, in that which is not subject to hindrance. In that which cannot be taken away, that is, in your own will. And why have you made yourself so useless and good for nothing that no man will choose to receive you into his house, no man to take care of you? But if a utensil entire and useful were cast abroad, every man who found it would take it up and think it a gain. But no man will take you up, and every man will consider you a loss. So cannot you discharge the office even of a dog or of a cock? Why then do you choose to live any longer when you are what you are? Does any good man fear that he shall fail to have food? To the blind it does not fail, to the lame it does not. Shall it fail to a good man? And to a good soldier there does not fail to be one who gives him pay, nor to a laborer, nor to a shoemaker. And to the good man shall there be wanting such a person. Does God thus neglect the things that he has established, his ministers, his witnesses, whom alone he employs as examples to the uninstructed, both that he exists, and administers well the whole, and does not neglect human affairs, and that to a good man there is no evil either when he is living or when he is dead? What then when he does not supply him with food? What else does he do than, like a good general, he has given me the signal to retreat? I obey, I follow, assenting to the words of the commander, praising his acts. For I came when it pleased him, and I will also go away when it pleases him. And while I lived, it was my duty to praise God both by myself, and to each person severally, and to many. He does not supply me with many things, nor with abundance. He does not will me to live luxuriously, for neither did he supply Hercules, who was his own son. But another, Eurystheus, was king of Argos and Mycenae, and Hercules obeyed orders and labored and was exercised. And Eurystheus was what he was, neither king of Argos nor of Mycenae, for he was not even king of himself. But Hercules was ruler and leader of the whole earth and sea, who purged away lawlessness and introduced justice and holiness, and he did these things both naked and alone. And when Ulysses was cast out shipwrecked, did want humiliate him, did it break his spirit? But how did he go off to the virgins to ask for necessaries, to beg which is considered most shameful? As a lion bred in the mountains, trusting in his strength. Odyssey, Romans 6, 130. Relying on what? Not on reputation, nor on wealth, nor on the power of a magistrate, but on his own strength, that is, on his opinions about the things which are in our power and those which are not. For these are the only things which make men free, which make them escape from hindrance, which raise the head and neck of those who are depressed, which make them look with steady eyes on the rich and on tyrants. And this is the gift given to the philosopher. But you will not come forth bold, but trembling about your trifling garments and silver vessels. Unhappy man, have you thus wasted your time till now? What then if I shall be sick? You will be sick in such a way as you ought to be. Who will take care of me? God, your friends. I shall lie down on a hard bed, but you will lie down like a man. I shall not have a convenient chamber. You will be sick in an inconvenient chamber. Who will provide for me the necessary food? those who provide for others also, you will be sick like manes, and what also will be the end of the sickness, any other than death? Do you then consider that this the chief of all evils to man, and the chief mark of mean spirit and of cowardice is not death, but rather the fear of death? Against this fear then I advise you to exercise yourself. To this let all your reasoning tend, your exercises and reading, and you will know that thus only are men made free. Book Roman 4. Chapter I about freedom. He is free who lives as he wishes to live, who is neither subject to compulsion nor to hindrance nor to force, whose movements to action, letter 1 F41 Romeo alpha iota, are not impeded, whose desires attain their purpose, and who does not fall into that which he would avoid, letter 1 F10 kappa lambda iota sigma epsilon iota sigma, letter 1 F00 pi epsilon rho iota pi tau omicron iota, who then chooses to live in error. No man who chooses to live deceived, liable to mistake, unjust, unrestrained, discontented, mean. No man, not one then of the bad lives as he wishes, nor is he then free. And who chooses to live in sorrow, fear, envy, pity, desiring and failing in his desires, attempting to avoid something and falling into it, not one. Do we then find any of the bad free from sorrow, free from fear, who does not fall into that which he would avoid, and does not obtain that which he wishes? Not one, nor then do we find any bad man free. If then a man who has been twice consul should hear this, if you add, "But you are a wise man, this is nothing to you," he will pardon you. But if you tell him the truth and say, "You differ not at all from those who have been thrice sold as to being yourself not a slave," what else ought you to expect than blows? For he says, "What I a slave, I whose father was free, whose mother was free, I whom no man can purchase, I am also of senatorial rank, and a friend of Caesar, and I have been a consul, and I own many slaves. In the first place, most excellent senatorial man, perhaps your father also was a slave in the same kind of servitude, and your mother, and your grandfather, and all your ancestors in an ascending series. But even if they were as free as it is possible, what is this to you? What if they were of a noble nature, and you of a mean nature? If they were fearless, and you a coward? If they had the power of self-restraint, and you are not able to exercise it? And what, you may say, has this to do with being a slave? Does it seem to you to be nothing to do a thing unwillingly, with compulsion, with groans? Has this nothing to do with being a slave? It is something, you say, but who is able to compel me except the Lord of all, Caesar? Then even you yourself have admitted that you have one master, but that he is the common master of all, as you say. Let not this console you at all, but know that you are a slave in a great family. So also the people of Nicopolis are used to exclaim, "By the fortune of Caesar we are free." However, if you please, let us not speak of Caesar at present. But tell me this, did you never love any person, a young girl, or slave, or free? What then is this with respect to being a slave or free? Were you never commanded by the person beloved to do something which you did not wish to do? Have you never flattered your little slave? Have you never kissed her feet? And yet if any man compelled you to kiss Caesar's feet, you would think it an insult and excessive tyranny. What else then is slavery? Did you never go out by night to some place whither you did not wish to go? Did you not expend that you did not wish to expend? Did you not utter words with sighs and groans? Did you not submit to abuse and to be excluded? But if you are ashamed to confess your own acts, see what Thrasonides says and does, who having seen so much military service as perhaps not even you have, first of all went out by night, when Geta, a slave, does not venture out, but if he were compelled by his master would have cried out much and would have gone out lamenting his bitter slavery. Next, what does Thrasonides say? A worthless girl has enslaved me, me whom no enemy ever did. Unhappy man, who are the slave even of a girl and a worthless girl. Why then do you still call yourself free? And why do you talk of your service in the army? Then he calls for a sword and is angry with him who out of kindness refuses it, and he sends presents to her who hates him and entreats and weeps, and on the other hand, having had a little success, he is elated. But even then how? Was he free enough neither to desire nor to fear? Now consider in the case of animals how we employ the notion of liberty. Men keep tame lions shut up and feed them, and some take them about, and who will say that this lion is free? Is it not the fact that the more he lives at his ease, so much the more he is in a slavish condition? And who, if he had perception and reason, would wish to be one of these lions? Well, these birds, when they are caught and are kept shut up, how much do they suffer in their attempts to escape? And some of them die of hunger rather than submit to such a kind of life, and as many of them as live, hardly live, and with suffering pine away, and if they ever find any opening, they make their escape. So much do they desire their natural liberty, and to be independent and free from hindrance. And what harm is there to you in this? What do you say? I am formed by nature to fly where I choose, to live in the open air, to sing when I choose. You deprive me of all this and say, what harm is it to you? For this reason we shall say that those animals only are free which cannot endure capture, but as soon as they are caught escape from captivity by death. So Diogenes also somewhere says that there is only one way to freedom, and that is to die content, and he writes to the Persian king, "You cannot enslave the Athenian state any more than you can enslave fishes. How is that? Cannot I catch them? If you catch them, says Diogenes, they will immediately leave you as fishes do. For if you catch a fish, it dies, and if these men that are caught shall die, of what use to you is the preparation for war? These are the words of a free man who had carefully examined the thing, and, as was natural, had discovered it. But if you look for it in a different place from where it is, what wonder if you never find it? The slave wishes to be set free immediately. Why, do you think that he wishes to pay money to the collectors of 20th? No, but because he imagines that hitherto, through not having obtained this, he is hindered and unfortunate. If I shall be set free immediately, it is all happiness. I care for no man. I speak to all as an equal and like to them. I go where I choose. I come from any place I choose and go where I choose. Then he is set free, and forthwith, having no place where he can eat, he looks for some man to flatter, someone with whom he shall sup. Then he either works with his body and endures the most dreadful things, and if he can obtain a manger, he falls into a slavery much worse than his former slavery. Or even if he has become rich, being a man without any knowledge of what is good, he loves some little girl, and in his unhappiness laments and desires to be a slave again. He says, "What evil did I suffer in my state of slavery? Another clothed me, another supplied me with shoes, another fed me, another looked after me in sickness, and I did only a few services for him. But now a wretched man, what things I suffer, being a slave to many instead of to one. But however, he says, if I shall acquire rings, then I shall live most prosperously and happily. First, in order to acquire these rings, he submits to that which he is worthy of. Then when he has acquired them, it is again all the same. Then he says, if I shall be engaged in military service, I am free from all evils. He obtains military service. He suffers as much as a flogged slave, and nevertheless he asks for a second service and a third. After this, when he has put the finishing stroke, the call off into his career, and has become a senator, then he becomes a slave by entering into the assembly. Then he serves the finer and most splendid slavery, not to be a fool, but to learn what Socrates taught, what is the nature of each thing that exists, and that a man should not rashly adapt preconceptions, pyro omicron lambda psi epsilon iota sigma, to the several things which are. For this is the cause to men of all their evils, the not being able to adapt the general preconceptions to the several things. But we have different opinions about the cause of our evils. One man thinks that he is sick, not so however, but the fact is that he does not adapt his preconceptions right. Another thinks that he is poor, another that he has a severe father or mother, and another again that Caesar is not favorable to him. But all this is one and only one thing, the not knowing how to adapt the preconceptions. For who has not a preconception of that which is bad, that it is hurtful, that it ought to be avoided, that it ought in every way to be guarded against? One preconception is not repugnant to another, only where it comes to the matter of adaptation. What then is this evil which is both hurtful and a thing to be avoided? He answers, not to be Caesar's friend. He has gone far from the mark. He has missed the adaptation, he is embarrassed, he seeks the things which are not at all pertinent to the matter, for when he has succeeded in being Caesar's friend, nevertheless he has failed in finding what he sought. For what is that which every man seeks? To live secure, to be happy, to do everything as he wishes, not to be hindered nor compelled. When then he has become the friend of Caesar, is he free from hindrance, free from compulsion? Is he tranquil, is he happy? Of whom shall we inquire? What more trustworthy witness have we than this very man who has become Caesar's friend? Come forward and tell us, when did you sleep more quietly, now or before you became Caesar's friend? Immediately you hear the answer, stop, I entreat you, and do not mock me. You know not what miseries I suffer, and sleep does not come to me. But one comes and says, Caesar is already awake, he is now going forth, then come troubles and cares. Well, when did you sup with more pleasure, now or before? Hear what he says about this also. He says that if he is not invited, he is pained. And if he is invited, he sups like a slave with his master, all the while being anxious that he does not say or do anything foolish. And what do you suppose that he is afraid of, lest he should be lashed like a slave? How can he expect anything so good? No, but as befits so great a man, Caesar's friend, he is afraid that he may lose his head. And when did you bathe more free from trouble? And take your gymnastic exercise more quietly? In fine, which kind of life did you prefer, your present or your former life? I can swear that no man is so stupid or so ignorant of truth as not to bewail his own misfortunes the nearer he is in friendship to Caesar. Since then neither those who are called kings live as they choose, nor the friends of kings, who finally are those who are free. Seek and you will find, for you have aids from nature for the discovery of truth. But if you are not able yourself by going along these ways only to discover that which follows, listen to those who have made the inquiry. What do they say? Does freedom seem to you a good thing, the greatest good? Is it possible then that he who obtains the greatest good can be unhappy or fare badly? No. Whomsoever then you shall see unhappy, unfortunate, lamenting, confidently declare that they are not free. I do declare it. We have now then got away from buying and selling and from such arrangements about matters of property. For if you have rightly assented to these matters, if the great king, the Persian king, is unhappy, he cannot be free, nor can a little king, nor a man of consular rank, nor one who has been twice consul. Be it so. Further then answer me this question also, does freedom seem to you to be something great and noble and valuable? How should it not seem so? Is it possible then when a man obtains anything so great and valuable and noble to be mean? It is not possible. When then you see any man subject to another or flattering him contrary to his own opinion, confidently affirm that this man also is not free, and not only if he do this for a bit of supper, but also if he does it for a government, province, or a consulship. And call these men little slaves who for the sake of little matters do these things, and those who do so for the sake of great things call great slaves, as they deserve to be. This is admitted also. Do you think that freedom is a thing independent and self-governing? Certainly. Whomsoever then it is in the power of another to hinder and compel, declare that he is not free. And do not look, I entreat you, after his grandfathers and great-grandfathers, or inquire about his being bought or sold. But if you hear him saying from his heart and with feeling, Master, even if the 12 fasces precede him as consul, call him a slave. And if you hear him say, Wretch that I am, how much I suffer, call him a slave. If finally you see him lamenting, complaining, unhappy, call him a slave, though he wears a praetexta. If then he is doing nothing of this kind, do not yet say that he is free, but learn his opinions, whether they are subject to compulsion, or may produce hindrance, or to bad fortune. And if you find him such, call him a slave who has a holiday in the Saturnalia. Say that his master is from home, he will return soon, and you will know what he suffers. Who will return? Whoever has in himself the power over anything which is desired by the man, either to give it to him or to take it away. Thus then have we many masters. We have, for we have circumstances as masters prior to our present masters, and these circumstances are many. Therefore it must of necessity be that those who have the power over any of these circumstances must be our masters. For no man fears Caesar himself, but he fears death, banishment, deprivation of his property, prison, and disgrace. Nor does any man love Caesar, unless Caesar is a person of great merit, but he loves wealth, the office of tribune, praetor, or consul. When we love and hate and fear these things, it must be that those who have the power over them must be our masters. Therefore we adore them even as gods. For we think that what possesses the power of conferring the greatest advantage on us is divine. Then we wrongly assume, letter 1 F5 1 pi omicron tau alpha sigma sigma omicron mu epsilon u, that a certain person has the power of conferring the greatest advantages, therefore he is something divine. For if we wrongly assume that a certain person has the power of conferring the greatest advantages, it is a necessary consequence that the conclusion from these premises must be false. What then is that which makes a man free from hindrance and makes him his own master? For wealth does not do it, nor consulship, nor provincial government, nor royal power, but something else must be discovered. What then is that which when we write makes us free from hindrance and unimpeded? The knowledge of the art of writing. What then is it in playing the lute? The science of playing the lute. Therefore in life also it is the science of life. You have then heard in a general way, but examine the thing also in the several parts. Is it possible that he who desires any of the things which depend on others can be free from hindrance? No. Is it possible for him to be unimpeded? No. Therefore he cannot be free. Consider then whether we have nothing which is in our own power only, or whether we have all things, or whether some things are in our own power and others in the power of others. What do you mean? When you wish the body to be entire sound, is it in your power or not? It is not in my power. When you wish it to be healthy, neither is this in my power. When you wish it to be handsome, nor is this life or death, neither is this in my power. Your body then is another's. Subject to every man who is stronger than yourself, it is. But your estate, is it in your power to have it when you please, and as long as you please, and such as you please? No. And your slaves? No. And your clothes? No. And your house? No. And your horses? Not one of these things. And if you wish by all means your children to live, or your wife, or your brother, or your friends, is it in your power? This also is not in my power. Whether then have you nothing which is in your own power, which depends on yourself only and cannot be taken from you, or have you anything of the kind? I know not. Look at the thing then thus, and examine it. Is any man able to make you assent to that which is false? No man. In the matter of assent then you are free from hindrance and obstruction. Granted. Well, and can a man force you to desire to move towards that to which you do not choose? He can't. For when he threatens me with death or bonds, he compels me to desire to move towards it. If then you despise death and bonds, do you still pay any regard to him? No. Is then the despising of death an act of your own, or is it not yours? It is my act. It is your own act then also to desire to move towards a thing, or is it not so? It is my own act. But to desire to move away from a thing whose act is that, this also is your act. What then if I have attempted to walk, suppose another should hinder me? What part of you does he hinder? Does he hinder the faculty of assent? No, but my poor body. Yes, as he would do with a stone. Granted, but I no longer walk. And who told you that walking is your own act free from hindrance? For I said that this only was free from hindrance, to desire to move, but where there is need of body and its cooperation, you have heard long ago that nothing is your own. Granted this also. And who can compel you to desire what you do not wish? No man. And to propose or intend, or in short to make use of the appearances which present themselves, can any man compel you? He cannot do this, but he will hinder me when I desire from obtaining what I desire. If you desire anything which is your own, and one of the things which cannot be hindered, how will he hinder you? He cannot in any way. Who then tells you that he who desires the things that belong to another is free from hindrance? Must I then not desire health? By no means, nor anything else that belongs to another. For what is not in your power to acquire or to keep when you please, this belongs to another. Keep then far from it not only your hands, but more than that, even your desires. If you do not, you have surrendered yourself as a slave. You have subjected your neck, if you admire anything not your own, to everything that is dependent on the power of others and perishable, to which you have conceived a liking. Is not my hand my own? It is a part of your own body, but it is by nature earth, subject to hindrance, compulsion, and the slave of everything which is stronger. And why do I say your hand? You ought to possess your whole body as a poor ass loaded, as long as it is possible, as long as you are allowed. But if there be a press, and a soldier should lay hold of it, let it go, do not resist, nor murmur. If you do, you will receive blows, and nevertheless you will also lose the ass. But when you ought to feel thus with respect to the body, consider what remains to be done about all the rest which is provided for the sake of the body. When the body is an ass, all the other things are bits belonging to the ass, pack saddles, shoes, barley, fodder. Let these also go, get rid of them quicker and more readily than of the ass. When you have made this preparation and have practiced this discipline, to distinguish that which belongs to another from that which is your own, the things which are subject to hindrance from those which are not, to consider the things free from hindrance to concern yourself, and those which are not free not to concern yourself, to keep your desire steadily fixed to the things which do concern yourself, and turn from the things which do not concern yourself, you still fear any man. No one, for about what will you be afraid? About the things which are your own, in which consists the nature of good and evil, and who has power over these things, who can take them away, who can impede them? No man can, no more than he can impede God. But will you be afraid about your body and your possessions, about things which are not yours, about things which in no way concern you? And what else have you been studying from the beginning than to distinguish between your own and not your own, the things which are in your power and not in your power, the things subject to hindrance and not subject? And why have you come to the philosophers? Was it that you may nevertheless be unfortunate and unhappy? You will then in this way, as I have supposed you to have done, be without fear and disturbance. And what is grief to you? For fear comes from what you expect, but grief from that which is present. But what further will you desire? For of the things which are within the power of the will, as being good and present, you have a proper and regulated desire. But of the things which are not in the power of the will you do not desire anyone, and so you do not allow any place to that which is irrational and impatient and above measure hasty. When then you are thus affected towards things, what man can any longer be formidable to you? For what has a man which is formidable to another, either when you see him or speak to him or finally are conversant with him? Not more than one horse has with respect to another, or one dog to another, or one bee to another bee. Things indeed are formidable to every man, and when any man is able to confer these things on another or to take them away, then he too becomes formidable. How then is an acropolis, a stronghold or fortress, the seat of tyranny, demolished, not by the sword, not by fire, but by opinion? For if we abolish the acropolis which is in the city, can we abolish also that of fever and that of beautiful women? Can we in a word abolish the acropolis which is in us and cast out the tyrants within us, whom we have daily over us, sometimes the same tyrants, at other times different tyrants? But with this we must begin, and with this we must demolish the acropolis and eject the tyrants, by giving up the body, the parts of it, the faculties of it, the possessions, the reputation, magisterial offices, honors, children, brothers, friends, by considering all these things as belonging to others. And if tyrants have been ejected from us, why do I still shut in the acropolis by a wall of circumvallation, at least on my account? For if it still stands, what does it do to me? Why do I still eject the tyrants' guards? For where do I perceive them? Against others they have their fasces and their spears and their swords. But I have never been hindered in my will, nor compelled when I did not will. And how is this possible? I have placed my movements towards action, letter 1 F4 1 Romeo, in obedience to God. Is it his will that I shall have fever? It is my will also. Is it his will that I should move towards anything? It is my will also. Is it his will that I should obtain anything? It is my wish also. Does he not will? I do not wish. Is it his will that I die? Is it his will that I be put to the rack? It is my will then to die. It is my will then to be put to the rack. Who then is still able to hinder me contrary to my own judgment, or to compel me? No more than he can hinder or compel Zeus. Thus the more cautious of travelers also act. A traveler has heard that the road is infested by robbers. He does not venture to enter on it alone, but he waits for the companionship on the road either of an ambassador or of a quaestor or of a proconsul, and when he has attached himself to such persons he goes along the road safely. So in the world the wise man acts. There are many companies of robbers, tyrants, storms, difficulties, losses of that which is dearest. Where is there any place of refuge? How shall he pass along without being attacked by robbers? What company shall he wait for that he may pass along in safety? To whom shall he attach himself? To what person generally? To the rich man, to the man of consular rank? And what is the use of that to me? Such a man is stripped himself, groans and laments. What if the fellow companion himself turns against me and becomes my robber? What shall I do? I will be a friend of Caesar. When I am Caesar's companion, no man will wrong me. In the first place, that I may become illustrious, what things must I endure and suffer? How often and by how many must I be robbed? Then if I become Caesar's friend, he also is mortal. And if Caesar from any circumstance becomes my enemy, where is it best for me to retire? Into a desert? Well, does fever not come there? What shall be done then? Is it not possible to find a safe fellow traveler, a faithful one, strong, secure against all surprises? Thus he considers and perceives that if he attaches himself to God, he will make his journey in safety. How do you understand attaching yourself to God? In this sense, that whatever God wills, a man also shall will, and what God does not will, a man also shall not will. How then shall this be done? In what other way than by examining the movements, letter 1 F4 1 Romeo Alpha Sigma, the acts of God in his administration? What has he given to me as my own and in my own power? What has he reserved to himself? He has given to me the things which are in the power of the will, tau letter 1 F70, pi rho omicron alpha iota rho epsilon tau iota kappa letter 1 F70. He has put them in my power free from impediment and hindrance. How was he able to make the earthy body free from hindrance? He could not. And accordingly he is subjected to the revolution of the whole, tau letter 1 FC7, tau letter 1 FF6, nu letter 1 F4 5 lambda omega nu, pi epsilon rho iota omicron delta letter 1 FF3, possessions, household things, house, children, wife. Why then do I fight against God? Why do I will what does not depend on the will? Why do I will to have absolutely what is not granted to me? But how ought I to will to have things? In the way in which they are given and as long as they are given. But he who is given takes away. Why then do I resist? I do not say that I shall be a fool if I use force to one who is stronger, but I shall first be unjust. For whence had I things when I came into the world? My Father gave them to me. And who gave them to him? And who made the sun? And who made the fruits of the earth? And who the seasons? And who made the connection of men with one another and their fellowship? Then after receiving everything from another and even yourself, are you angry and do you blame the giver if he takes anything from you? Who are you and for what purpose did you come into the world? Did not God introduce you here? Did he not show you the light? Did he not give you fellow workers and perceptions and reason? And as whom did he introduce you here? Did he not introduce you as subject to death and as one to live on the earth with a little flesh? And to observe his administration and to join with him in the spectacle and the festival for a short time? Will you not then, as long as you have been permitted, after seeing the spectacle and the solemnity when he leads you out, go with adoration of him and thanks for what you have heard and seen? No, but I would still enjoy the feast. The initiated too would wish to be longer in the initiation, and perhaps also those at Olympia to see other athletes, but the solemnity is ended. Go away like a grateful and modest man, make room for others. Others also must be born. As you were, and being born they must have a place, and houses, and necessary things. And if the first do not retire, what remains? Why are you insatiable? Why are you not content? Why do you contract the world? Yes, but I would have my little children with me and my wife. What are they yours? Do they not belong to the giver and to him who made you? Then will you not give up what belongs to others? Will you not give way to him who is superior? Why then did he introduce me into the world on these conditions? And if the conditions do not suit you, depart. He has no need of a spectator who is not satisfied. He wants those who join in the festival, those who take part in the chorus, that they may rather applaud, admire, and celebrate with hymns the solemnity. But those who can bear no trouble and the cowardly, he will not unwillingly see absent from the great assembly, pi alpha nu gamma epsilon rho iota sigma. For they did not when they were present behave as they ought to do at a festival, nor fill up their place properly, but they lamented, found fault with the deity, fortune, their companions, not seeing both what they had and their own powers which they received for contrary purposes, the powers of magnanimity, of a generous mind, manly spirit, and what we are now inquiring about, freedom. For what purpose then have I received these things? To use them. How long? So long as he who has lent them chooses. What if they are necessary to me? Do not attach yourself to them and they will not be necessary. Do not say to yourself that they are necessary and then they are not necessary. This study you ought to practice from morning to evening, beginning with the smallest things and those most liable to damage, with an earthen pot, with a cup. Then proceed in this way to a tunic, to a little dog, to a horse, to a small estate and land, then to yourself, to your body, to the parts of your body, to your children, to your wife, to your brothers. Look all round and throw these things from you which are not yours. Purge your opinions. So that nothing cleave to you of the things which are not your own, that nothing grow to you, that nothing give you pain when it is torn from you. and say, while you are daily exercising yourself as you do there in the school, not that you are philosophizing, for this is an arrogant, offensive expression, but that you are presenting an assertor of freedom, for this is really freedom. To this freedom Diogenes was called by Antisthenes, and he said that he could no longer be enslaved by any man. For this reason, when he was taken prisoner, how did he behave to the pirates? Did he call any of them master? And I do not speak of the name, for I am not afraid of the word, but of the state of mind by which the word is produced. How did he reprove them for feeding badly their captives? How was he sold? Did he seek a master? No, but a slave. And when he was sold, how did he behave to his master? Immediately he disputed with him, and said to his master that he ought not to be dressed as he was, nor shaved in such a manner. And about the children he told them how he ought to bring them up, and what was strange in this. For if his master had bought an exercise master, would he have employed him in the exercises of the palaestra as a servant or as a master? And so if he had bought a physician or an architect, and so in every matter it is absolutely necessary that he who has skill must be the superior of him who has not. Whoever then generally possesses the science of life, what else must he be the master? For who is master in a ship? The man who governs the helm. Why? Because he who will not obey him suffers for it, but a master can give me stripes. Can he do it then without suffering for it? So I also used to think, but because he cannot do it without suffering for it, for this reason it is not in his power, and no man can do what is unjust without suffering for it. And what is the penalty for him who puts his own slave in chains? What do you think that is, the fact of putting the slave in chains? And you also will admit this if you choose to maintain the truth that man is not a wild beast but a tame animal. For when is a vine doing badly, when it is in a condition contrary to its nature? When is a cock just the same? Therefore a man also is so. What then is a man's nature? To bite, to kick, and to throw into prison and to behead? No, but to do good, to cooperate with others, to wish them well. At that time then he is in a bad condition, whether you chose to admit it or not, when he is acting foolishly. Socrates then did not fare badly, no, but his judges and his accusers did. Nor did Helvidius at Rome fare badly, no, but his murderer did. How do you mean? The same as you do when you say that cock has not fared badly when he has gained the victory and been severely wounded, but that the cock has fared badly when he has been defeated and is unhurt. Nor do you call a dog fortunate, who neither pursues game nor labors, but when you see him sweating. When you see him in pain and panting violently after running, what paradox, unusual thing, do we utter if we say that the evil in everything is that which is contrary to the nature of the thing? Is this a paradox? For do you not say this in the case of all other things? Why then in the case of man only do you think differently? But because we say that the nature of man is tame, gentle, and social and faithful, you will not say that this is a paradox. It is not. What then is it a paradox to say that a man is not hurt when he is whipped or put in chains or beheaded? Does he not, if he suffers nobly, come off even with increased advantage and profit? But is he not hurt who suffers in a most pitiful and disgraceful way, who in place of a man becomes a wolf or viper or wasp? Well then let us recapitulate the things which have been agreed on. The man who is not under restraint is free, to whom things are exactly in that state in which he wishes them to be. But he who can be restrained or compelled or hindered or thrown in any circumstances against his will is a slave. But who is free from restraint? He who desires nothing that belongs to is in the power of others. And what are the things which belong to others? Those which are not in our power either to have or not to have, or to have of a certain kind or in a certain manner. Therefore the body belongs to another, the parts of the body belong to another, possession, property belongs to another. If then you are attached to any of these things as your own, you will pay the penalty which it is proper for him to pay who desires what belongs to another. This road leads to freedom. This is the only way of escaping from slavery, to be able to say at last with all your soul, "Lead me, O Zeus, and thou, O Destiny, the way that I am bid by you to go." But what do you say, philosopher? The tyrant summons you to say something which does not become you. Do you say it or do you not? Answer me. Let me consider. Will you consider now? But when you were in the school, what was it which you used to consider? Did you not study what are the things that are good and what are bad, and what things are neither one nor the other? I did. What then was our opinion? That just and honorable acts were good, and that unjust and disgraceful foul acts were bad. Is life a good thing? No. Is death a bad thing? No. Is prison? No. But what did we think about mean and faithless words and betrayal of a friend and flattery of a tyrant? That they are bad. Well then, you are not considering, nor have you considered nor deliberated. For what is the matter for consideration? Is it whether it is becoming for me when I have it in my power to secure for myself the greatest of good things, and not to secure for myself, that is, not to avoid the greatest evils? A fine inquiry indeed, and necessary, and one that demands much deliberation. Man, why do you mock us? Such an inquiry is never made. If you really imagined that base things were bad and honorable things were good, and that all other things were neither good nor bad, you would not even have approached this inquiry, nor have come near it, but immediately you would have been able to distinguish them by the understanding, as you would do in other cases by the vision. For when do you inquire if black things are white, if heavy things are light, and do not comprehend the manifest evidence of the senses? How then do you now say that you are considering whether things which are neither good nor bad ought to be avoided more than things which are bad? But you do not possess these opinions, and neither do these things seem to you to be neither good nor bad, but you think that they are the greatest evils, nor do you think those other things, mean and faithless words, etc., to be evils, but matters which do not concern us at all, for thus from the beginning you have accustomed yourself. Where am I in the schools, and are any listening to me? I am discoursing among philosophers, but I have gone out of the school, away with this talk of scholars and fools. Thus a friend is overpowered by the testimony of a philosopher. Thus a philosopher becomes a parasite, thus he lets himself for hire for money. Thus in the Senate a man does not say what he thinks, in private in the school he proclaims his opinions. You are a cold and miserable little opinion, suspended from idle words as from a hair, but keep yourself strong and fit for the uses of life, and initiated by being exercised in action. How do you hear the report? I do not say that your child is dead, for how could you bear that, but that your oil is spilled, your wine drunk up. Do you act in such a way that one standing by you while you are making a great noise may say this only? Philosopher, you say something different in the school. Why do you deceive us? Why, when you are only a worm, do you say that you are a man? I should like to be present when some of the philosophers is lying with a woman, that I might see how he is exerting himself, and what words he is uttering, and whether he remembers his title of philosopher, and the words which he hears or says or reads. And what is this to liberty? Nothing else than this, whether you who are rich choose or not. And who is your evidence for this? Who else than yourselves, who have a powerful master Caesar, and who live in obedience to his nod and motion, and who faint if he only looks at you with a scowling countenance, you who court old women and old men and say, I cannot do this, it is not in my power. Why is it not in your power? Did you not lately contend with me and say that you are free, but a prella has hindered me? Tell the truth then, slave, and do not run away from your masters, nor deny, nor venture to produce anyone to assert your freedom, cap alpharo piiot omicrantawid in you, when you have so many evidences of your slavery. And indeed, when a man is compelled by love to do something contrary to his opinion, judgment, and at the same time sees the better, but has not the strength to follow it, one might consider him still more worthy of excuse as being held by a certain violent, and in a manner a divine power. But who could endure you who are in love with old women and old men, and wipe the old women's noses, and wash them, and give them presents, and also wait on them like a slave when they are sick, and at the same time wish them dead, and question the physicians whether they are sick unto death? And again, when in order to obtain these great and much admired magistracies and honors, you kiss the hands of these slaves of others, and so you are not the slave even of free men, then you walk about before me in stately fashion a praetor or a consul. Do I not know how you became a praetor, by what means you got your consulship, who gave it to you? I would not even choose to live if I must live by help of Felician and endure his arrogance and servile insolence, for I know what a slave is, who is fortunate, as he thinks, and puffed up by pride. You then, a man may say, are you free? I wish, by the gods, and pray to be free, but I am not yet able to face my masters. I still value my poor body. I value greatly the preservation of it entire, though I do not possess it entire. But I can point out to you a free man, that you may no longer seek an example. Diogenes was free. How was he free? Not because he was born of free parents, but because he was himself free. Because he had cast off all the handles of slavery, and it was not possible for any man to approach him, nor had any man the means of laying hold of him to enslave him. He had everything easily loosed, everything only hanging to him. If you laid hold of his property, he would have rather let it go and be yours than he would have followed you for it. If you had laid hold of his leg, he would have let go his leg. If of all his body, all his poor body, his intimates, friends, country, just the same. For he knew from whence he had them, and from whom, and on what conditions. His true parents indeed, the gods, and his real country he would never have deserted. Nor would he have yielded to any man in obedience to them, and to their orders, nor would any man have died for his country more readily. For he was not used to inquire when he should be considered to have done anything on behalf of the whole of things, the universe, or all the world, but he remembered that everything which is done comes from thence, and is done on behalf of that country, and is commanded by him who administers it. Therefore see what Diogenes himself says and writes. For this reason, he says, Diogenes, it is in your power to speak both with the king of the Persians and with Archidamus, the king of the Lacedaemonians, as you please. Was it because he was born of free parents? I suppose all the Athenians and all the Lacedaemonians, because they were born of slaves, could not talk with them, these kings, as they wished, but feared and paid court to them. Why then does he say that it is in his power? Because I do not consider the poor body to be my own, because I want nothing, because law is everything to me, and nothing else is. These were the things which permitted him to be free. And that you may not think that I show you the example of a man who is a solitary person, who has neither wife nor children, nor country, nor friends, nor kinsmen, by whom he could be bent and drawn in various directions. Take Socrates and observe that he had a wife and children, but he did not consider them as his own, that he had a country, so long as it was fit to have one, and in such a manner as was fit, friends and kinsmen also. But he held all in subjection to law, and to the obedience due to it. For this reason he was the first to go out as a soldier when it was necessary, and in war he exposed himself to danger most unsparingly. And when he was sent by the tyrants to seize Leon, he did not even deliberate about the matter, because he thought that it was a base action, and he knew that he must die for his refusal, if it so happened. And what difference did that make to him? For he intended to preserve something else, not his poor flesh, but his fidelity. His honorable character, these are things which could not be assailed nor brought into subjection. Then when he was obliged to speak in defense of his life, did he behave like a man who had children, who had a wife? No, but he behaved like a man who has neither. And what did he do when he was ordered to drink the poison, and when he had the power of escaping from prison, and when Crito said to him, "Escape for the sake of your children"? What did Socrates say? Did he consider the power of escape as an unexpected gain? By no means. He considered what was fit and proper, but the rest he did not even look at or take into the reckoning. For he did not choose, he said, to save his poor body, but to save that which is increased and saved by doing what is just, and is impaired and destroyed by doing what is unjust. Socrates will not save his life by a base act, he who would not put the Athenians to the vote when they clamored that he should do so, he who refused to obey the tyrants, he who discoursed in such a manner about virtue and right behavior. It is not possible to save such a man's life by base acts, but he is saved by dying, not by running away. For the good actor also preserves his character by stopping when he ought to stop, better than when he goes on acting beyond the proper time. What then shall the children of Socrates do? If, said Socrates, I had gone off to Thessaly, would you have taken care of them? And if I depart to the world below, will there be no man to take care of them? See how he gives to death a gentle name and mocks it. But if you and I had been in his place, we should have immediately answered as philosophers that those who act unjustly must be repaid in the same way, and we should have added, I shall be useful to many, if my life is saved, and if I die, I shall be useful to no man. For if it had been necessary, we should have made our escape by slipping through a small hole. And how in that case should we have been useful to any man? For where would they have been then staying? Or if we were useful to men while we were alive, should we not have been much more useful to them by dying when we ought to die, and as we ought? And now Socrates, being dead, no less useful to men, and even more useful, is the remembrance of that which he did or said when he was alive. Think of these things, these opinions, these words. Look to these examples if you would be free, if you desire the thing according to its worth. And what is the wonder if you buy so great a thing at the price of things so many and so great? For the sake of this which is called liberty, some hang themselves, others throw themselves down precipices. And sometimes even whole cities have perished. And will you not, for the sake of the true and unassailable and secure liberty, give back to God when he demands them the things which he has given? Will you not, as Plato says, study not to die only, but also to endure torture, and exile, and scourging, and in a word to give up all which is not your own? If you will not, you will be a slave among slaves, even if you be 10,000 times a consul. And if you make your way up to the palace, Caesar's residence, you will no less be a slave, and you will feel that perhaps philosophers utter words which are contrary to common opinion, paradoxes, as Cleans also said, but not words contrary to reason. For you will know by experience that the words are true, and that there is no profit from the things which are valued and eagerly sought to those who have obtained them. And to those who have not yet obtained them there is an imagination, phi alpha nu tau alpha sigma iota alpha, that when these things are come, all that is good will come with them. Then when they are come, the feverish feeling is the same, the tossing to and fro is the same, the satiety, the desire of things which are not present. For freedom is acquired not by the full possession of the things which are desired, but by removing the desire. And that you may know that this is true, as you have labored for those things, so transfer your labor to these. Be vigilant for the purpose of acquiring an opinion which will make you free. Pay court to a philosopher instead of to a rich old man. Be seen about a philosopher's doors. You will not disgrace yourself by being seen. You will not go away empty nor without profit if you go to the philosopher as you ought, and if not, if you do not succeed. Try at least the trial attempt is not disgraceful. Chapter 2 on familiar intimacy. To this matter before all you must attend, that you be never so closely connected with any of your former intimates or friends as to come down to the same acts as he does. If you do not observe this rule, you will ruin yourself. But if the thought arises in your mind, I shall seem disobliging to him, and he will not have the same feeling towards me, remember that nothing is done without cost. Nor is it possible for man, if he does not do the same things, to be the same man that he was. Choose then which of the two you will have, to be equally loved by those by whom you were formerly loved, being the same with your former self, or being superior, not to obtain from your friends the same that you did before. For if this is better, immediately turn away to it, and let not other considerations draw you in a different direction. For no man is able to make progress, improvement, when he is wavering between opposite things. But if you have preferred this one thing to all things, if you choose to attend to this only, to work out this only, give up everything else. But if you will not do this, your wavering will produce both these results. You will neither improve as you ought, nor will you obtain what you formerly obtained. For before, by plainly desiring the things which were worth nothing, you pleased your associates, but you cannot excel in both kinds, and it is necessary that so far as you share in the one, you must fall short in the other. You cannot, when you do not drink with those with whom you used to drink, be agreeable to them as you were before. Choose then whether you will be a hard drinker and pleasant to your former associates, or a sober man and disagreeable to them. You cannot, when you do not sing with those with whom you used to sing, be equally loved by them. Choose then in this matter also which of the two you will have. For if it is better to be modest and orderly than for man to say, he is a jolly fellow, give up the rest, renounce it, turn away from it, have nothing to do with such men. But if this behavior shall not please you, turn altogether to the opposite, become a catamite, an adulterer, and act accordingly, and you will get what you wish, and jump up in the theater and bawl out in praise of the dancer. But characters so different cannot be mingled. You cannot act both Thersites and Agamemnon. If you intend to be Thersites, you must be humpbacked and bald. If Agamemnon, you must be tall and handsome, and love those who are placed in obedience to you. Chapter Romans 3. What things we should exchange for other things. Keep this thought in readiness when you lose anything external, what you acquire in place of it, and if it be worth more, never say, I have had a loss. Neither if you have got a horse in place of an ass, or an ox in place of a sheep, nor a good action in place of a bit of money, nor in place of idle talk such tranquility as befits a man, nor in place of lewd talk if you have acquired modesty. If you remember this, you will always maintain your character such as it ought to be. But if you do not, consider that the times of opportunity are perishing, and that whatever pains you take about yourself, you are going to waste them all and overturn them. And it needs only a few things for the loss and overturning of all, namely a small deviation from reason. For the steerer of a ship to upset it, he has no need of the same means as he has need of for saving it. But if he turns it a little to the wind, it is lost, and if he does not do this purposely, but has been neglecting his duty a little, the ship is lost. Something of the kind happens in this case also. If you only fall a-nodding a little, all that you have up to this time collected is gone. Attend therefore to the appearances of things, and watch over them. For that which you have to preserve is no small matter, but it is modesty and fidelity and constancy, freedom from the effects, a state of mind undisturbed, freedom from fear, tranquility, in a word, liberty. For what will you sell these things? See, what is the value of the things which you will obtain in exchange for these? But shall I not obtain any such thing for it? See, and if you do in return get that, see what you receive in place of it. I possess decency, he possesses a tribuneship, he possesses a praetorship, I possess modesty, but I do not make acclamations where it is not becoming. I will not stand up where I ought not, for I am free and a friend of God, and so I obey him willingly. But I must not claim, seek anything else, neither body nor possession, nor magistracy, nor good report, nor in fact anything. For he, God, does not allow me to claim, seek them. For if he had chosen, he would have made them good for me. But he has not done so, and for this reason I cannot transgress his commands. Preserve that which is your own good in everything, and as to every other thing as it is permitted, in so far as to behave consistently with reason in respect to them, content with this only. If you do not, you will be unfortunate, you will fail in all things, you will be hindered, you will be impeded. These are the laws which have been sent from thence from God, these are the orders. Of these laws a man ought to be an expositor, to these he ought to submit, not to those of Masurius and Cassius. Chapter Romans 4. To those who are desirous of passing life in tranquility. Remember that not only the desire of power and of riches makes us mean and subject to others, but even the desire of tranquility and of leisure and of traveling abroad and of learning. For to speak plainly, whatever the external thing may be, the value which we set upon it places us in subjection to others. What then is the difference between desiring to be a senator or not desiring to be one? What is the difference between desiring power or being content with a private station? What is the difference between saying, I am unhappy, I have nothing to do, but I am bound to my books as a corpse, or saying, I am unhappy, I have no leisure for reading? For as salutations and power are things external and independent of the will, so is a book. For what purpose do you choose to read? Tell me. For if you only direct your purpose to being amused or learning something, you are a silly fellow and incapable of enduring labor. But if you refer reading to the proper end, what else is this than a tranquil and happy life? Epsilon letter 1 F54 sigma omicron iota alpha. But if reading does not secure for you a happy and tranquil life, what is the use of it? but it does secure this. The man replies, and for this reason I am vexed that I am deprived of it. And what is this tranquil and happy life which any man can impede? I do not say Caesar or Caesar's friend, but a crow, a piper, a fever, and 30,000 other things. But a tranquil and happy life contains nothing so sure as continuity and freedom from obstacle. Now I am called to do something. I will go then with the purpose of observing the measures, rules which I must keep, of acting with modesty, steadiness, without desire and aversion to things external, and then that I may attend to men what they say, how they are moved, and this not with any bad disposition, or that I may have something to blame or to ridicule, but I turn to myself and ask if I also commit the same faults. How then shall I cease to commit them? Formerly I also acted wrong, but now I do not, thanks to God. Come, when you have done these things and have attended to them, have you done a worse act than when you have read 1,000 verses or written as many? For when you eat, are you grieved because you are not reading? Are you not satisfied with eating according to what you have learned by reading, and so with bathing and with exercise? Why then do you not act consistently in all things, both when you approach Caesar and when you approach any person, if you maintain yourself free from perturbation, free from alarm and steady, if you look rather at the things which are done and happen than are looked at yourself, if you do not envy those who are preferred before you, if surrounding circumstances, letter 1F55 lambda alpha iota, do not strike you with fear or admiration, what do you want, books, how or for what purpose? For is not this, the reading of books, a preparation for life, and is not life itself, living, made up of certain other things than this? This is just as if an athlete should weep when he enters the stadium because he is not being exercised outside of it. It was for this purpose that you used to practice exercise. For this purpose were used the halters, weights, the dust, the young men as antagonists, and do you seek for those things now when it is the time of action? This is just as if in the topic matter of assent, when appearances present themselves, some of which can be comprehended, and some cannot be comprehended, we should not choose to distinguish them, but should choose to read what has been written about comprehension, kappa alpha tau alpha lambda psi iota sigma. What then is the reason of this? The reason is that we have never read for this purpose, we have never written for this purpose, so that we may in our actions use in a way conformable to nature the appearances presented to us. But we terminate in this, in learning what is said, and in being able to expound it to another, in resolving a syllogism, and in handling the hypothetical syllogism. For this reason, where our study purpose is, there alone is the impediment. Would you have by all means the things which are not in your power, be prevented then, be hindered, fail in your purpose? But if we read what is written about action, efforts, letter 1F41 Romuita, not that we may see what is said about action, but that we may act well. If we read what is said about desire and aversion, avoiding things, in order that we may neither fail in our desires, nor fall into that which we try to avoid. If we read what is said about duty, officium, in order that, remembering the relations of things to one another, we may do nothing irrationally nor contrary to these relations. We should not be vexed in being hindered as to our readings, but we should be satisfied with doing the acts which are conformable to the relations, and we should be reckoning not what so far we have been accustomed to reckon. Today I have read so many verses, I have written so many, but we should say, today I have employed my action as it is taught by the philosophers, I have not employed my desire. I have used avoidance, letter 1F10 kappa lambda iota sigma epsilon iota, only with respect to things which are within the power of my will. I have not been afraid of such a person, I have not been prevailed upon by the entreaties of another. I have exercised my patience, my abstinence, my cooperation with others, and so we should thank God for what we ought to thank Him. But now we do not know that we also in another way are like the many. Another man is afraid that he shall not have power, you are afraid that you will. Do not do so, my man, but as you ridicule him who is afraid that he shall not have power, so ridicule yourself also. For it makes no difference whether you are thirsty like a man who has a fever, or have a dread of water like a man who is mad. Or how will you still be able to say as Socrates did? If so it pleases God, so let it be. Do you think that Socrates, if he had been eager to pass his leisure in the Lyceum or in the Academy and to discourse daily with the young men, would have readily served in military expeditions so often as he did, and would he not have lamented and groaned, wretch that I am, I must now be miserable here, when I might be sunning myself in the Lyceum? Why was this your business to sun yourself, and is it not your business to be happy, to be free from hindrance, free from impediment? And could he still have been Socrates if he had lamented in this way? How would he still have been able to write paeans in his prison? In short, remember this, that what you shall prize which is beyond your will, so far you have destroyed your will. But these things are out of the power of the will, not only power, authority, but also a private condition, not only occupation, business, but also leisure. Now then must I live in this tumult. Why do you say tumult? I mean among many men. Well, what is the hardship? Suppose that you are at Olympia. Imagine it to be a dangerous public assembly, where one is calling out one thing, another is doing another thing, and a third is pushing another person. In the baths there is a crowd, and who of us is not pleased with this assembly and leaves it unwillingly? Be not difficult to please nor fastidious about what happens. Vinegar is disagreeable, for it is sharp. Honey is disagreeable, for it disturbs my habit of body. I do not like vegetables, so also I do not like leisure. It is a desert. I do not like a crowd. It is confusion. But if circumstances make it necessary for you to live alone or with a few, call it quiet, and use the thing as you ought. Talk with yourself, exercise the appearances presented to you, work up your preconceptions. If you fall into a crowd, call it a celebration of games, a panegyrus, a festival. Try to enjoy the festival with other men. For what is a more pleasant sight to him who loves mankind than a number of men? We see with pleasure herds of horses or oxen. We are delighted when we see many ships. Who is pained when he sees many men? But they deafen me with their cries. Then your hearing is impeded. What then is this to you? Is then the power of making use of appearances hindered? And who prevents you from using according to nature inclination to a thing and aversion from it, and movement towards a thing and movement from it? What tumult, confusion, is able to do this? Do you only bear in mind the general rules? What is mine? What is not mine? What is given, permitted to me? What does God will that I should do now? What does he not will? A little before he willed you to be at leisure, to talk with yourself, to write about these things, to read, to hear, to prepare yourself. You had sufficient time for this. Now he says to you, come now to the contest, show us what you have learned, how you have practiced the athletic art. How long will you be exercised alone? Now is the opportunity for you to learn whether you are an athlete worthy of victory, or one of those who go about the world and are defeated. Why then are you vexed? No contest is without confusion. There must be many who exercise themselves for the contest, many who call out to those who exercise themselves, many masters, many spectators. But my wish is to live quietly. Lament then and groan as you deserve to do. For what other is a greater punishment than this to the untaught man and to him who disobeys the divine commands? To be grieved, to lament, to envy, in a word, to be disappointed and to be unhappy. Would you not release yourself from these things? And how shall I release myself? Have you not often heard that you ought to remove entirely desire, apply aversion, turning away to those things only which are within your power, that you ought to give up everything? Body, property, fame, books, tumult, power, private station. For whatever way you turn, you are a slave, you are subjected, you are hindered, you are compelled, you are entirely in the power of others. But keep the words of cleanness in readiness. Lead me, O Zeus, and thou necessity. Is it your will that I should go to Rome? I will go to Rome, to Gyara. I will go to Gyara, to Athens. I will go to Athens, to prison. I will go to prison. If you should once say, when shall a man go to Athens? You are undone. It is a necessary consequence that this desire, if it is not accomplished, must make you unhappy. And if it is accomplished, it must make you vain, since you are elated at things at which you ought not to be elated. And on the other hand, if you are impeded, it must make you wretched, because you fall into that which you would not fall into. Give up then all these things. Athens is a good place, but happiness is much better, and to be free from passions, free from disturbance, for your affairs not to depend on any man. There is tumult at Rome and visits of salutation. But happiness is an equivalent for all troublesome things. If then the time comes for these things, why do you not take away the wish to avoid them? What necessity is there to carry a burden like an ass and to be beaten with a stick? But if you do not so, consider that you must always be a slave to him who has it in his power to effect your release, and also to impede you, and you must serve him as an evil genius. There is only one way to happiness, and let this rule be ready both in the morning and during the day and by night. The rule is not to look towards things which are out of the power of our will, to think that nothing is our own, to give up all things to the divinity, to fortune, to make them the superintendents of these things, whom Zeus also has made so. For man to observe that only which is his own, that which cannot be hindered. And when we read, to refer our reading to this only, and our writing and our listening. For this reason I cannot call the man industrious if I hear this only, that he reads and writes, and even if a man adds that he reads all night, I cannot say so, if he knows not to what he should refer his reading. For neither do you say that a man is industrious if he keeps awake for a girl, nor do I. But if he does it, reads and writes, for reputation, I say that he is a lover of reputation. And if he does it for money, I say that he is a lover of money, not a lover of labor. And if he does it through love of learning, I say that he is a lover of learning. But if he refers his labor to his own ruling power, letter 1 F2 1 gamma epsilon mu omicron u iot cap omicron u, that he may keep it in a state conformable to nature and pass his life in that state, then only do I say that he is industrious. For never commend a man on account of these things which are common to all, but on account of his opinions, principles. For these are the things which belong to each man, which make his actions bad or good. Remembering these rules, rejoice in that which is present, and be content with the things which come in season. If you see anything which you have learned and inquired about occurring to you in your course of life, or opportunely applied by you to the acts of life, be delighted at it. If you have laid aside or have lessened bad disposition and a habit of reviling, if you have done so with rash temper, obscene words, hastiness, sluggishness, If you are not moved by what you formerly were, and not in the same way as you once were, you can celebrate a festival daily. Today because you have behaved well in one act, and tomorrow because you have behaved well in another. How much greater is this a reason for making sacrifices than a consulship or the government of a province? These things come to you from yourself and from the gods. Remember this, who gives these things and to whom, and for what purpose. If you cherish yourself in these thoughts, do you still think that it makes any difference where you shall be happy, where you shall please God? Are not the gods equally distant from all places? Do they not see from all places alike that which is going on? Chapter V. Against the quarrelsome and ferocious. The wise and good man neither himself fights with any person, nor does he allow another, so far as he can prevent it. And an example of this as well as of all other things is proposed to us in the life of Socrates, who not only himself on all occasions avoided fights, quarrels, but would not allow even others to quarrel. See in Xenophon's Symposium how many quarrels he settled, how further he endured Thrasymachus and Polus and Callicles, how he tolerated his wife and how he tolerated his son who attempted to confute him and to cavil with him. For he remembered well that no man has in his power another man's ruling principle. He wished therefore for nothing else than that which was his own. And what is this? Not that this or that man may act according to nature, for that is a thing which belongs to another, but that while others are doing their own acts as they choose, he may nevertheless be in a condition conformable to nature and live in it, only doing what is his own to the end that others also may be in a state conformable to nature. For this is the object always set before him by the wise and good man. Is it to be commander, a praetor of an army? No, but if it is permitted him, his object is in this matter to maintain his own ruling principle. Is it to marry? No, but if marriage is allowed to him, in this matter his object is to maintain himself in a condition conformable to nature. But if he would have his son not to do wrong or his wife, he would have what belongs to another not to belong to another. And to be instructed is this, to learn what things are a man's own and what belongs to another. How then is there left any place for fighting, quarreling, to a man who has this opinion, which he ought to have? Is he surprised at anything which happens, and does it appear new to him? Does he not expect that which comes from the bad to be worse and more grievous than what actually befalls him? And does he not reckon as pure gain whatever they the bad may do which falls short of extreme wickedness? Such a person has reviled you. Great thanks to him for not having struck you, but he has struck me also. Great thanks that he did not wound you, but he wounded me also. Great thanks that he did not kill you. For when did he learn, or in what school, that man is a tame animal, that men love one another, that an act of injustice is a great harm to him who does it? Since then he has not learned this and is not convinced of it, why shall he not follow that which seems to be for his own interest? Your neighbor has thrown stones. Have you then done anything wrong? But the things in the house have been broken. Are you then a utensil? No, but a free power of will. What then is given to you to do in answer to this? If you are like a wolf, you must bite in return and throw more stones. But if you consider what is proper for a man, examine your storehouse, see with what faculties you came into the world. Have you the disposition of a wild beast? Have you the disposition of revenge for an injury? When is a horse wretched? When he is deprived of his natural faculties, not when he cannot crow like a cock, but when he cannot run. When is a dog wretched? Not when he cannot fly, but when he cannot track his game. Is then a man also unhappy in this way, not because he cannot strangle lions or embrace statues, for he did not come into the world in the possession of certain powers from nature for this purpose, but because he has lost his probity and his fidelity. People ought to meet and lament such a man for the misfortunes into which he has fallen, not indeed to lament because a man has been born or has died, but because it has happened to him in his lifetime to have lost the things which are his own, not that which he received from his father, not his land and house and his inn and his slaves. For not one of these things is a man's own, but all belong to others, are servile. And subject to account, letter 1F51 pi epsilon upsilon theta upsilon nu alpha, at different times given to different persons by those who have them in their power. But I mean the things which belong to him as a man, the marks, stamps in his mind with which he came into the world, such as we seek also on coins, and if we find them we approve of the coins, and if we do not find the marks we reject them. What is the stamp on this Cestorius? The stamp of Trajan. Present it is the stamp of Nero. Throw it away, it cannot be accepted, it is counterfeit. So also in this case, what is the stamp of his opinions? It is gentleness, a sociable disposition, a tolerant temper, a disposition to mutual affection. Produce these qualities. I accept them. I consider this man a citizen. I accept him as a neighbor, a companion in my voyages. Only see that he has not Nero's stamp. Is he passionate? Is he full of resentment? Is he fault-finding? If the whim seizes him, does he break the heads of those who come in his way? If so, why then did you say that he is a man? Is everything judged, determined by the bare form? If that is so, say that the form in wax is an apple and has the smell and the taste of an apple. But the external figure is not enough, neither then is the nose enough and the eyes to make the man, but he must have the opinions of a man. Here's a man who does not listen to reason, who does not know when he is refuted. He is an ass. In another man the sense of shame has become dead. He is good for nothing. He is anything rather than a man. This man seeks whom he may meet and kick or bite, so that he is not even a sheep or an ass, but a kind of wild beast. What then would you have me to be despised? By whom? By those who know you. And how shall those who know you despise a man who is gentle and modest? Perhaps you mean by those who do not know you. What is that to you? For no other artisan cares for the opinion of those who know not his art. But they will be more hostile to me for this reason. Why do you say me? Can any man injure your will? Or prevent you from using in a natural way the appearances which are presented to you? In no way can he. Why then are you still disturbed, and why do you choose to show yourself afraid? And why do you not come forth and proclaim that you are at peace with all men whatever they may do, and laugh at those chiefly who think that they can harm you? These slaves, you can say, know not either who I am, nor where lies my good or my evil, because they have no access to the things which are mine. In this way also those who occupy a strong city mock the besiegers, and say, what trouble these men are now taking for nothing. Our wall is secure, we have food for a very long time, and all other resources. These are the things which make a city strong and impregnable, but nothing else than his opinions makes a man's soul impregnable. For what wall is so strong, or what body is so hard, or what possession is so safe, or what honor rank? Character so free from assault as a man's opinions. All other things everywhere are perishable, easily taken by assault, and if any man in any way is attached to them, he must be disturbed, expect what is bad, he must fear, lament, find his desires disappointed, and fall into things which he would avoid. Then do we not choose to make secure the only means of safety which are offered to us? And do we not choose to withdraw ourselves from that which is perishable and servile, and to labor at the things which are imperishable and by nature free? And do we not remember that no man either hurts another or does good to another, but that a man's opinion about each thing is that which hurts him, is that which overturns him? This is fighting, this is civil discord, this is war. That which made Eteocles and Paulinus's enemies was nothing else than this opinion which they had about royal power, their opinion about exile, that the one is the extreme of evils, the other the greatest good. Now this is the nature of every man, to seek the good, to avoid the bad, to consider him who deprives us of the one and involves us in the other an enemy and treacherous, even if he be a brother or a son or a father. For nothing is more akin to us than the good. Therefore if these things externals are good and evil, neither is a father a friend to sons, nor a brother to a brother, but all the world is everywhere full of enemies, treacherous men, and sycophants. But if the will, pyro omicron alpha iota rho epsilon sigma iota sigma, the purpose, the intention being what it ought to be, is the only good, and if the will being such as it ought not to be is the only evil, where is there any strife, where is there reviling? About what? About the things which do not concern us, and strife with whom? With the ignorant, the unhappy, with those who are deceived about the chief things. Remembering this, Socrates managed his own house and endured a very ill-tempered wife and a foolish, ungrateful son. For in what did she show her bad temper? In pouring water on his head as much as she liked, and in trampling on the cake sent to Socrates. And what is this to me, if I think that these things are nothing to me? But this is my business, and neither tyrant shall check my will nor a master, nor shall the many check me who am only one. Nor shall the stronger check me who am the weaker, for this power of being free from check hindrance is given by God to every man. For these opinions make love in a house, family, concord in a state, among nations peace and gratitude to God. They make a man in all things cheerful, confident, in externals as about things which belong to others, as about things which are of no value. We indeed are able to write and to read these things, and to praise them when they are read, but we do not even come near to being convinced of them. Therefore what is said of the Lacedaemonians, lions at home, but in Ephesus foxes, will fit in our case also, lions in the school, but out of it foxes. Chapter VI, against those who lament over being pitied. I am grieved, a man says, at being pitied. Whether then is the fact of your being pitied a thing which concerns you or those who pity you? Well, is it in your power to stop this pity? It is in my power if I show them that I do not require pity. And whether then are you in the condition of not deserving requiring pity, or are you not in that condition? I think that I am not, but these persons do not pity me for the things for which, if they ought to pity me, it would be proper, I mean, for my faults, but they pity me for my poverty, for not possessing honorable offices, for diseases and deaths and other such things. Whether then are you prepared to convince the many that not one of these things is an evil, but that it is possible for a man who is poor and has no office, letter 1F00 nu alpha chi omicron nu tau iota, and enjoys no honor to be happy, or to show yourself to them as rich and in power? For the second of these things belong to a man who is boastful, silly, and good for nothing. And consider by what means the pretense must be supported. It will be necessary for you to hire slaves and to possess a few silver vessels, and to exhibit them in public if it is possible, though they are often the same, and to attempt to conceal the fact that they are the same, and to have splendid garments and all other things for display, and to show that you are a man honored by the great, and to try to sup at their houses, or to be supposed to sup there. And as to your person, to employ some mean arts, that you may appear to be more handsome and nobler than you are. These things you must contrive, if you choose to go by the second path in order not to be pitied. But the first way is both impracticable and long, to attempt the very thing which Zeus has not been able to do, to convince all men what things are good and bad. Is this power given to you? This only is given to you to convince yourself, and you have not convinced yourself. Then I ask you, do you attempt to persuade other men, and who has lived so long with you as you with yourself, and who has so much power of convincing you as you have of convincing yourself, and who is better disposed and nearer to you than you are to yourself? How then have you not yet convinced yourself in order to learn? At present are not things upside down? Is this what you have been earnest about doing, to learn to be free from grief and free from disturbance, and not to be humbled, abject, and to be free? Have you not heard then that there is only one way which leads to this end, to give up, dismiss the things which do not depend on the will, to withdraw from them, and to admit that they belong to others? For another man then to have an opinion about you, of what kind is it? It is a thing independent of the will, then is it nothing to you? It is nothing. When then you are still vexed at this and disturbed, do you think that you are convinced about good and evil? Will you not then, letting others alone, be to yourself both scholar and teacher? The rest of mankind will look after this, whether it is to their interest to be and to pass their lives in a state contrary to nature. But to me no man is nearer than myself. What then is the meaning of this, that I have listened to the words of the philosophers and I assent to them, but in fact I am no way made easier, more content? Am I so stupid? And yet in all other things such as I have chosen, I have not been found very stupid, but I learn letters quickly, and to wrestle in geometry, and to resolve syllogisms. Has not then reason convinced me? And indeed no other things have I from the beginning so approved and chosen, as the things which are rational. And now I read about these things, hear about them, write about them. I have so far discovered no reason stronger than this, living according to nature. In what then am I deficient? Have the contrary opinions not been eradicated from me? Have the notions, opinions, themselves not been exercised, nor used to be applied to action? But as armor are laid aside and rusted and cannot fit me, and yet neither in the exercises of the palaestra, nor in writing or reading am I satisfied with learning, but I turn up and down the syllogisms which are proposed, and I make others, and sophistical syllogisms also. But the necessary theorems, by proceeding from which a man can become free from grief, fear, passions, affects, hindrance, and a free man, these I do not exercise myself in, nor do I practice in these the proper practice study. Then I care about what others will say of me, whether I shall appear to them worth notice, whether I shall appear happy. Wretched man, will you not see what you are saying about yourself? What do you appear to yourself to be? In your opinions, in your desires, in your aversions from things. Letter 1 F10 nu tau, letter 1 FF7, letter 1 F10 kappa lambda iota nu epsilon iota nu. In your movements, purposes. Letter 1 F10 nu, letter 1 F41 rho mu, letter 1 FC7. In your preparation for anything, in your designs, plans. And in other acts suitable to a man, but do you trouble yourself about this, whether others pity you? Yes, but I am pitied not as I ought to be. Are you then pained at this, and is he who is pained an object of pity? Yes. How then are you pitied not as you ought to be? For by the very act that you feel suffer about being pitied, you make yourself deserving of pity. What then says Antisthenes, have you not heard? It is a royal thing, Osiris, to do right well and to be ill spoken of. My head is sound, and all think that I have the headache. What do I care for that? I am free from fever, and people sympathize with me as if I had a fever, and say, poor man, for so long a time you have not ceased to have fever. I also say with a sorrowful countenance, in truth it is now a long time that I have been ill. What will happen then, as God may please, and at the same time I secretly laugh at those who are pitying me. What then hinders the same being done in this case also? I am poor. But I have a right opinion about poverty. Why then do I care if they pity me for my poverty? I am not in power, not a magistrate, but others are, and I have the opinion which I ought to have about having and not having power. Let them look to it who pity me, but I am neither hungry nor thirsty, nor do I suffer cold, but because they are hungry or thirsty, they think that I too am. What then shall I do for them? Shall I go about and proclaim and say, be not mistaken, men, I am very well, I do not trouble myself about poverty, nor want of power, nor in a word about anything else than right opinions. These I have free from restraint, I care for nothing at all. What foolish talk is this? How do I possess right opinions when I am not content with being what I am, but am uneasy about what I am supposed to be? But you say, others will get more and be preferred to me. What then is more reasonable than for those who have labored about anything to have more in that thing in which they have labored? They have labored for power, you have labored about opinions, and they have labored for wealth, you for the proper use of appearances. See if they have more than you in this about which you have labored, and which they neglect, if they assent better than you with respect to the natural rules, measures of things, if they are less disappointed than you in their desires, if they fall less into things which they would avoid than you do, if in their intentions, if in the things which they propose to themselves, if in their purposes, if in their motions towards an object they take a better aim, if they better observe a proper behavior as men, as sons, as parents, and so on as to the other names by which we express the relations of life. But if they exercise power and you do not, will you not choose to tell yourself the truth, that you do nothing for the sake of this power, and they do all? But it is most unreasonable that he who looks after anything should obtain less than he who does not look after it. Not so, but since I care about right opinions, it is more reasonable for me to have power. Yes, in the matter about which you do care in opinions, but in a matter in which they have cared more than you, give way to them. The case is just the same as if, because you have right opinions, you thought that in using the bow you should hit the mark better than an archer, and in working in metal you should succeed better than a smith. Give up then your earnestness about opinions and employ yourself about the things which you wish to acquire, and then lament if you do not succeed, for you deserve to lament. But now you say that you are occupied with other things, that you are looking after other things, but the many say this truly, that one act has no community with another. He who has risen in the morning seeks whom of the house of Caesar he shall salute, to whom he shall say something agreeable, to whom he shall send a present, how he shall please the dancing man, how by bad behavior to one he may please another. When he prays about these things. When he sacrifices for these things. The saying of Pythagoras, let sleep not come upon thy languid eyes, he transfers to these things. Where have I failed in the matters pertaining to flattery? What have I done? Anything like a free man, anything like a noble-minded man? And if he finds anything of the kind, he blames and accuses himself. Why did you say this? Was it not in your power to lie? Even the philosophers say that nothing hinders us from telling a lie. But do you, if indeed you have cared about nothing else except the proper use of appearances, as soon as you have risen in the morning reflect, what do I want in order to be free from passion effects and free from perturbation? What am I? Am I a poor body, a piece of property, a thing of which something is said? I am none of these. But what am I? I am a rational animal. What then is required of me? Reflect on your acts. Where have I omitted the things which conduce to happiness? Epsilon, letter 1 F54, rho omicron, iota, alpha nu. What have I done which is either unfriendly or unsocial? What have I not done as to these things which I ought to have done? So great then being the difference in desires, actions, wishes, would you still have the same share with others in those things about which you have not labored, and they have labored? Then are you surprised if they pity you, and are you vexed? But they are not vexed if you pity them. Why? Because they are convinced that they have that which is good, and you are not convinced. For this reason you are not satisfied with your own, but you desire that which they have, but they are satisfied with their own. And do not desire what you have, since if you were really convinced that with respect to what is good, it is you who are the possessor of it, and that they have missed it, you would not even have thought of what they say about you. Chapter Romans 7, on freedom from fear. What makes the tyrant formidable? The guards, you say, in their swords, and the men of the bedchamber, and those who exclude them who would enter. Why then, if you bring a boy child to the tyrant when he is with his guards, is he not afraid? Or is it because the child does not understand these things? If then any man does understand what guards are, and that they have swords, and comes to the tyrant for this very purpose, because he wishes to die on account of some circumstance, and seeks to die easily by the hand of another, is he afraid of the guards? No, for he wishes for the thing which makes the guards formidable. If then any man, neither wishing to die, nor to live by all means, but only as it may be permitted, approaches the tyrant, what hinders him from approaching the tyrant without fear? Nothing. If then a man has the same opinion about his property as the man whom I have instanced has about his body, and also about his children and his wife, and in a word is so affected by some madness or despair that he cares not whether he possesses them or not, but like children who are playing with shells quarrel about the play, but do not trouble themselves about the shells, so he too has set no value on the materials things, but values the pleasure that he has with them and the occupation. What tyrant is then formidable to him, or what guards, or what swords? Then through madness is it possible for a man to be so disposed towards these things, and the Galileans through habit. And is it possible that no man can learn from reason and from demonstration that God has made all the things in the universe, and the universe itself completely free from hindrance and perfect, and the parts of it for the use of the whole? All other animals indeed are incapable of comprehending the administration of it, but the rational animal, man, has faculties for the consideration of all these things, and for understanding that it is a part, and what kind of a part it is, and that it is right for the parts to be subordinate to the whole. And besides this being naturally noble, magnanimous, and free, man sees that of the things which surround him some are free from hindrance and in his power, and the other things are subject to hindrance and in the power of others, that the things which are free from hindrance are in the power of the will, and those which are subject to hindrance are the things which are not in the power of the will. And for this reason, if he thinks that his good and his interest be in these things only which are free from hindrance and in his own power, He will be free, prosperous, happy, free from harm, magnanimous, pious, thankful to God for all things, in no matter finding fault with any of the things which have not been put in his power, nor blaming any of them. But if he thinks that his good and his interest are in externals and in things which are not in the power of his will, he must of necessity be hindered, be impeded, be a slave to those who have the power over the things which he admires, desires, and fears. And he must of necessity be impious because he thinks that he is harmed by God, and he must be unjust because he always claims more than belongs to him, and he must of necessity be abject and mean. What hinders a man who has clearly comprehended these things, from living with a light heart and bearing easily the reins, quietly expecting everything which can happen and enduring that which has already happened? Would you have me to bear poverty? Come and you will know what poverty is when it has found one who can act well the part of poor man. Would you have me possess power? Let me have power and also the trouble of it. Well, banishment. Wherever I shall go, there it will be well with me. For here also where I am, it was not because of the place that it was well with me, but because of my opinions which I shall carry off with me. For neither can any man deprive me of them, but my opinions alone are mine, and they cannot be taken from me, and I am satisfied while I have them, wherever I may be and whatever I am doing. But now it is time to die. Why do you say to die? Make no tragedy show of the thing. But speak of it as it is now time for the matter of the body to be resolved into the things out of which it was composed. And what is the formidable thing here? What is going to perish of the things which are in the universe? What new thing or wondrous is going to happen? Is it for this reason that a tyrant is formidable? Is it for this reason that the guards appear to have swords which are large and sharp? Say this to others, but I have considered about all these things. No man has power over me. I have been made free. I know his commands. No man can now lead me as a slave. I have a proper person to assert my freedom. I have proper judges. I say, are you not the master of my body? What then is that to me? Are you not the master of my property? What then is that to me? Are you not the master of my exile or of my chains? Well, from all these things and all the poor body itself I depart at your bidding, when you please. Make trial of your power, and you will know how far it reaches. Whom then can I still fear? Those who are over the bedchamber, lest they should do what? Shut me out. If they find that I wish to enter, let them shut me out. Why then do you go to the doors? Because I think it befits me while the play sport lasts to join in it. How then are you not shut out? Because unless someone allows me to go in, I do not choose to go in, but am always content with that which happens. For I think that what God chooses is better than what I choose. I will attach myself as a minister and follower to him. I have the same movements, pursuits as he has. I have the same desires. In a word, I have the same will, sigma epsilon nu phi epsilon lambda omega. There is no shutting out for me, but for those who would force their way in. Why then do not I force my way in? Because I know that nothing good is distributed within to those who enter. But when I hear any man called fortunate because he is honored by Caesar, I say, what does he happen to get? A province, the government of a province. Does he also obtain an opinion such as he ought, the office of a prefect? Does he also obtain the power of using his office well? Why do I still strive to enter Caesar's chamber? Man scatters dried figs and nuts. The children seize them and fight with one another. Men do not, for they think them to be a small matter. But if a man should throw about shells, even the children do not seize them. Provinces are distributed. Let children look to that. Money is distributed. Let children look to that. Praetorships, consulships are distributed. Let children scramble for them, let them be shut out, beaten, kiss the hands of the giver, of the slaves. But to me these are only dried figs and nuts. What then, if you fail to get them while Caesar is scattering them about? Do not be troubled. If a dried fig come into your lap, take it and eat it, for so far you may value even a fig. But if I shall stoop down and turn another over, or be turned over by another, and shall flatter those who have got into Caesar's chamber, neither is a dried fig worth the trouble, nor anything else of the things which are not good, which the philosophers have persuaded me not to think good. Show me the swords of the guards, see how big they are and how sharp. What then do these big and sharp swords do? They kill. And what does a fever do? Nothing else. And what else a falling tile? Nothing else. Would you then have me to wonder at these things and worship them and go about as the slave of all of them? I hope that this will not happen, but when I have once learned that everything which has come into existence must also go out of it, that the universe may not stand still nor be impeded, I no longer consider it any difference whether a fever shall do it, or a tile, or a soldier. But if a man must make a comparison between these things, I know that the soldier will do it with less trouble to me, and quicker. When then I neither fear anything which a tyrant can do to me, nor desire anything which he can give, why do I still look on with wonder, admiration? Why am I still confounded? Why do I fear the guards? Why am I pleased if he speaks to me in a friendly way and receives me? And why do I tell others how he spoke to me? Is he a Socrates? Is he a Diogenes that his praise should be a proof of what I am? Have I been eager to imitate his morals? But I keep up the play and go to him and serve him so long as he does not bid me to do anything foolish or unreasonable. But if he says to me, go and bring Leon of Salamis, I say to him, seek another, for I am no longer playing. The tyrant says, lead him away to prison. I follow, that is part of the play. But your head will be taken off. Does the tyrant's head always remain where it is, and the heads of you who obey him? But you will be cast out unburied. If the corpse is I shall be cast out, but if I am different from the corpse, speak more properly according as the fact is, and do not think of frightening me. These things are formidable to children and fools, but if any man has once entered a philosopher's school and knows not what he is, he deserves to be full of fear and to flatter those whom afterwards he used to flatter. And if he has not yet learned that he is not flesh, nor bones, nor sinews, nu epsilon letter 1 fe6 rho alpha, but he is that which makes use of these parts of the body, and governs there, and follows, understands the appearances of things. Yes, but this talk makes us despise the law. And what kind of talk makes men more obedient to the laws who employ such talk? And the things which are in the power of a fool are not law. And yet see how this talk makes us disposed as we ought to be even to these men fools, since it teaches us to claim in opposition to them none of the things in which they are able to surpass us. This talk teaches us as to the body to give it up, as to property to give that up also. As to children, parents, brothers, to retire from these, to give up all. It only makes an exception of the opinions, which even Zeus has willed to be the select property of every man. What transgression of the laws is there here? What folly! Where you are superior and stronger, there I gave way to you. On the other hand, where I am superior, do you yield to me? For I have studied, cared for this, and you have not. It is your study to live in houses with floors formed of various stones, how your slaves and dependents shall serve you, how you shall wear fine clothing, have many hunting men, lute players, and tragic actors. Do I claim any of these? Have you made any study of opinions and of your own rational faculty? Do you know of what parts it is composed, how they are brought together, how they are connected, what powers it has, and of what kind? Why then are you vexed, if another who has made his study has the advantage over you in these things? But these things are the greatest, and who hinders you from being employed about these things and looking after them? And who has a better stock of books, of leisure, of persons to aid you? Only turn your mind at last to these things. Attend, if it be only a short time, to your own ruling faculty. Letter 1 f2 1 gamma epsilon mu omicron nu ior cap omicron nu. Consider what this is that you possess, and whence it came, this which uses all other faculties, and tries them, and selects and rejects. But so long as you employ yourself about externals, you will possess them, externals, as no man else does. But you will have this, the ruling faculty, such as you choose to have it, sordid and neglected. Chapter Roman 8, against those who hastily rush into the use of the philosophic dress. Never praise nor blame a man because of the things which are common to all or to most, and do not ascribe to him any skill or want of skill, and thus you will be free from rashness and from malevolence. This man bathes very quickly. Does he then do wrong? Certainly not. But what does he do? He bathes very quickly. Are all things then done well? By no means, but the acts which proceed from right opinions are done well, and those which proceed from bad opinions are done ill. But do you, until you know the opinion from which a man does each thing, neither praise nor blame the act. But the opinion is not easily discovered from the external things acts. This man is a carpenter. Why? Because he uses an axe. What then is this to the matter? This man is a musician because he sings. And what does that signify? This man is a philosopher because he wears a cloak and long hair. And what does a juggler wear? For this reason, if a man sees any philosopher acting indecently, immediately he says, "See what the philosopher is doing." But he ought, because of the man's indecent behavior, rather to say that he is not a philosopher. For if this is the preconceived notion, pyro omicron lambda psi iota sigma, of a philosopher, and what he professes, to wear a cloak and long hair, men would say, well. But if what he professes is this rather, to keep himself free from faults, why do we not rather, because he does not make good his professions, take from him the name of philosopher? For so we do in the case of all other arts. When a man sees another handling an axe badly, he does not say, "What is the use of the carpenter's art? See how badly carpenters do their work." But he says just the contrary, "This man is not a carpenter, for he uses an axe badly." In the same way, if a man hears another singing badly, he does not say, "See how musicians sing," but rather, "This man is not a musician." But it is in the matter of philosophy only that people do this. When they see a man acting contrary to the profession of a philosopher, they do not take away his title, but they assume him to be a philosopher. And from his acts, deriving the fact that he is behaving indecently, they conclude that there is no use in philosophy. What then is the reason of this? Because we attach value to the notion pyro omicron lambda psi iota of a carpenter, and to that of a musician, and to the notion of other arsons in like manner, but not to that of a philosopher, and we judge from externals only that it is a thing confused and ill-defined. And what other kind of art has a name from the dress and the hair, and has not both theorems and a material and an end? What then is the material matter of the philosopher? Is it a cloak? No, but reason. What is his end? Is it to wear a cloak? No, but to possess the reason in a right state. Of what kind are his theorems? Are they those about the way in which the beard becomes great, or the hair long? No, but rather what Zeno says, to know the elements of reason, what kind of a thing each of them is, and how they are fitted to one another, and what things are consequent upon them. Will you not then see first if he does what he professes when he acts in an unbecoming manner, and then blame his study pursuit? But now when you yourself are acting in a sober way, you say in consequence of what he seems to you to be doing wrong, look at the philosopher. As if it were proper to call by the name of philosopher one who does these things, and further, this is the conduct of a philosopher. But you do not say, look at the carpenter, when you know that carpenter is an adulterer or you see him to be a glutton, nor do you say, see the musician. Thus to a certain degree even you perceive, understand the profession of a philosopher, but you fall away from the notion, and you are confused through want of care.